Drum for the Song podcast.
Welcome to episode 14 of Drum for the Song podcast. I am your host, Dane Campbell. Today, my guest is a really cool guest. He's a fellow Welshman like me. His name is Ronnie Huxford, and he plays drums in the band Those Damn Crows. I don't really know Ronnie that well, despite us living quite close to each other. But after speaking to him today, it feels like we've been mates for years and years and years. So I think you'll really enjoy this one, as it probably just sounds like two mates chatting. We had a great conversation overall. I learned a lot about Ronnie that I didn't know. One of the most interesting things was that his dad was a drummer, which I didn't know at all. And when he started playing drums when he was a teenager, he didn't get the support that you'd expect from a father who was also a musician. So he goes into detail about that in the interview. We learn about the formation of Those Damn Crows. We learn a little bit about his other bands. Also how Those Damn Crows managed to get in the top 40 in the UK album charts. They did really well. So listen to find out about that. And yeah, loads of stuff really. We talk about our love of pro wrestling. So just a little warning. This is quite a long episode. I was thinking about splitting it up into two, but I decided to go with a one full conversation instead of doing that. So, don't be afraid to take a few little breaks, dip in and out. I do the same if I was listening, so it's all cool. If anyone else would like to join my Patreon page, you can get access to exclusive bonus episodes every month. I also do a video call with everyone or whoever wants to turn up on the day. And there's loads of cool giveaways. I've recently teamed up with the guys at Motorhead Beer, and they are offering everyone 20% off their website, as well as doing a monthly giveaway of goodies and beer. So that's really cool. There's loads of other cool stuff depending on which tier. The first tier starts at £3 a month. So go check it out. Again, that's patreon.com/drum for the song. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank my top tier patrons. They're the Groove Masters. So really appreciate you guys who really help me out. And I really enjoy talking to you when we have our conversations online. So I'm going to read these out now because there's, again, quite a few of you, which is awesome. So thank you very much. I'm going to read them out. There's a few new ones. So we've got big thank you to Charlie Farley, Dean S. Monaghan, Rudy Pauly, Dan Hurst, Gareth Richards, Lee Kendrick or Kenny Kendrick, Steve Hancock, Paul W. Grashmere. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. I'm so sorry. But hi, Paul. Welcome. And Yari. Again, I don't know how to pronounce your surname. Yari from Finland. Yari Visanen. That's probably completely wrong. But thanks, guys. You're all legends. Cheers. You can also check out my official website, which is really new. It's www.drumforthesong.com. On there, you can find out more information about the previous episodes, why I try and make this podcast for you. And there's also a new merch button. So you can check out my new merch page. We've got t-shirts, hoodies. We've got exclusive Drum for the Song drumsticks. We've got bottle opener fridge magnets. We've got patches for your jacket. And yeah, that's pretty much it, I think. But yeah, check it out. It really helps me keep this podcast going. It takes me a lot of time to put these episodes together and edit them together. So any support financially is really welcome. So yeah, let's just get to the episode with Ronnie Huxford from Those Damn Crows.
Drum for the Song podcast.
Hey guys, this is Dane from Drum for the Song. Today I'm really lucky. I've got Ronnie Huxford from the fantastic band Those Damn Crows. How's it going, Ronnie?
It's great, man. I've been busting to come on. It's absolutely brilliant, but obviously no new for years. But you're doing a splendid job. It's great. Some amazing interviews. Like I've already subscribed, and it's part of my kind of routine now as well.
Oh, amazing! Thanks so much. It means a lot. And I'm trying my hardest. And likewise with you, we'll talk about your Crowcast later on. It's been really kind of good doing it alongside you guys. I guess it's a little bit different as you do the live stream, but it's kind of cool and
just weird times, Dane. And I mean, you know, it's just cool to kind of see yourself and others going down this path, like, you know, and especially like some of the contacts that you've got or some of the contacts that we've had. And it's nice to sit down and have those conversations, like, you know. And what I found with your podcast as well, which is cool, is like, you know, you get the knowledge of the drums and everything like that, but you also kind of get the cool stories and the tangent, which that's what I love about podcasts. So massive fan of podcasts anyway, like, you know.
Yeah, same. And that's mainly why I started it. I was kind of a few years ago, I found myself, instead of listening to music all the time, I was just listening to podcasts instead. Apart from like at the gym and when I was running and stuff, I was just kind of, if I was driving, podcast, working, podcast, cooking, podcast. And I was like, I wonder if I could do this. And at the time I was kind of busy touring, and like technically I didn't know how the hell to go about doing it. I didn't even think about Zoom. Probably didn't even know what Zoom was. Like obviously I heard of Skype and stuff like that, but it was before, I guess, it became a thing. And and then obviously the COVID thing happened, and I was like, well, busiest year ever for the band, probably cancelled or in jeopardy or in doubt. So I'm like, well, what could I do? And I thought, well, this is the best time to really start it. You know, I've got this extra time on my hands, and I just look, you know, I started with a really basic setup. I literally bought a cheap USB mic from Amazon, one of them kind of random brands. And I actually listened back the other day. It sounded pretty good, considering, and I spent loads of money since on this and interface and all that, which is supposedly meant to make it sound more professional, but it wasn't that much difference. But but anyway, and I just I'm kind of taking it slowly. I haven't, like you guys do something every week. I didn't want to put that pressure on myself, really, because I didn't want it to become like a chore. I wanted to enjoy it. And I just thought, because I'm doing it all myself and all the organization and stuff, and I am working as well. I've got another job, which I've mentioned before. And I thought if I did it every week, it just caused stress rather than be fun. So that's why I'm kind of like, I'm aiming to do 2 a month. And then I took a little break over Christmas time, and I'm going to get back on it now. Well, this month.
Yeah, well, that's a sensible way to do it. I mean, you are right. I mean, the weekly, it's like a job. That's the only way I can explain it to everyone. I mean, I'm really lucky at the moment. Obviously, like Shane's in the same boat as me, so we kind of drive it together. But yeah, all the editing or the promoting, or when you finish your next episode, you're loading up ready for your next, you know, the next one to come, or you're scheduling guests now, which like what we're doing right into March
already. Wow.
March. Yeah, man. So it's become literally the new tour, the new gig, and it's just something exactly the same as you. Massive fan of it. Always used to listen to it on the road, as in like Joe Rogan or my wrestling podcasts, or Chris Schiffler, or just anything. There's so many out there. I just always found that if I had a pocket of space or I just wanted to drift away, it's kind of nice to put the headphones in and just hear somebody kind of speaking, like, you know, rather than music all the time. You know what it's like, dude, especially if you've been working in a studio all day, or if you're out on the road and you're doing a gig. It's just nice to just kind of kick back and just listen to somebody else, like, you know. So something we've always wanted to do is just COVID kind of opened that window, the same as you, and similar paths of starting with raw gear, no clue on what to do, and then slowly kind of bringing it to where it is today. I mean, even with the, like, you know, the studio the way it is now, I have a shot at the beginning of March 2020 when we started the Crowcast. This room was like all red, like literally like Iron Man busts on the wall. It was still like my electric drums in the corner, and it was like my kids and my missus were kind of like, look, you know, you should be spending more time on this. You should be looking into this more. And then they would put me onto like YouTube and stuff. So I'm starting to research YouTubers and looking at like what they got. And then obviously, you know, the score, you go down the rabbit hole of Instagram drummers and stuff. And then I find myself then kind of sorting the acoustics out in the room, and then starting to bring a real kit in here, and like where I am now, behind this camera, there's a curtain, like kind of like Rockfield or studios that we've gone to, where the curtain can open or close, and then there's another part of the room then with the other curtains.
Oh,
So I've
wow.
kind of, I've created dividers, just to kind of, I don't know, man, it's just COVID, dude. You find yourself like learning new stuff. So I was kind of setting the basis for if we ever move and I have an outdoor building or something, I kind of want to do it right or learn about the acoustics or so I found most of this journey over the last like year has been speaking to people we've worked with, like your Chris Clancy's, or even Shiner in the band, and just speaking about soundproofing or speaking about microphones and just getting all the nerdy stuff out there. Me and you as drummers don't normally do that, like, do you know what I mean? So your
Yeah,
brother would, he loves all that.
yeah, my brother's well into it, and like it's never ending, and like I see it as like, for someone like him who runs a studio, it is like an addiction, because there's always that thing you can upgrade. You can always upgrade this
Yeah.
or improve this. It's never ending, and I'm so glad I'm not really into it myself, because I kind of got that kind of personality. I think that I kind of chilled out a bit now, but like I always wanted to upgrade. Like back,
Mhm.
and like I always used to upgrade my drum kit up, get better cymbals, and like I can just imagine it's never ending with studio gear, because you have microphones that cost like 10 grand and stuff. It's great. It's crazy. And where do you,
Dane,
where does it end?
I got so this little setup I've had for now for about God, it must be going on 8 years. This studio setup in the corner by you.
It looks good.
It's superb and it works. It's perfect. So I got two interfaces by there, which prior to this, like I don't know, maybe about a year and a half ago, I couldn't have told you how they were rigged up.
Yeah.
Yet again, it was because we know people. They'll come over the house and help me get it all set up, and I knew it kind of fed to the electric drum kit in the corner, and then
Nice.
I could just demo. So whether, same as you, if you want to put a guitar down or if you want to put some drums down, I worked out Pro Tools. So I started that kind of foundation about 7 or 8 years ago, but never got to a level of like your brother or beyond that, because it didn't interest me, same as you. I was very much like, I just want to kind of know how to do the basics, and then I'll give it to somebody else
Yeah.
to kind of take it to the next level. Or even if you're writing a song yourself, I never really had the aspiration to be a top mixer but I always was keen on producing.
Yeah.
Like the structures and rearranging stuff and that. And then that has evolved now through COVID. So I've got like the two interfaces there. I've got an 11 rack by there, which is just like my basic fake guitar head. And then I've got another interface, which when you get into podcasting, you're like, oh, I need one for that now. I need one for like portable.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. So I've like invested in that. So you are right. You become addicted, and especially like I got the same personality where I'm investing into it now. Where you're buying the same as you now with the arms. I've got that coming across here.
Right, yeah.
Gone out, got better cameras. Gone out, got extensions for this. Right? How do I do that? Right? I wanna do a Christmas special, so I want to do the Crowcast from my living room with the Christmas tree and everything behind it. Right, I need to buy a 20-foot Ethernet cable with a tiny little, and all of a sudden you just go out and start buying all these bits and bobs, and crazy, innit, dude? This is what COVID has done, like.
It's mental, but yeah, well, you got to find a balance, really. If the money's there to do it, great. Obviously, you've got to be careful, because you don't know when, with technically you're a professional musician, right?
Yeah, full time now.
Technically, I am, or am. I don't know what to call myself nowadays, but yeah, you've got to be careful. But but like, it's just making it a little bit better again, making it a little bit better again. I wish I had a boom like what you've got there, with an acoustic kit and an electric kit and all that gear. It would be amazing. And I do have I've got a very small outbuilding where I live, and I've got my electric kit there. But I don't have a separate setup with the computers and interfaces and stuff. I'd have to use this unless I forked out for a complete double setup. So it's just there, because I think I've always thought, well, I could easily hook my electric kit up to this. I've got software on this. I'm sure I could get it to work, but then I'm just like, because I use this is my everyday laptop. I do everything on it. It's just the whole, it'll take you that extra amount of time to set it up just to have a little go on it, and then you'll need it in the house for something else. And I just haven't got around to ever doing it. and I think
I
I
had
need to.
this,
So maybe
I
I
had the
should buy a
same
separate setup.
Yeah, I had the
maybe.
same conversation with my bass player, man, Lloyd. He's been wanting to get into it all and everything, and then he was like, I'm gonna save my money and get a Mac, and I said, brilliant, dude. But I said, to be honest with you, you're better off just using what you got now, because it takes so long. You know, I do have a respect for it. It takes so long to even like I use like Pro Tools 10, which I know they're on like whatever now, Pro Tools Plus or whatever. I haven't got a clue what they're on,
No.
but I've got the old version. But then it rocked my world, because when I bought this interface that I bought for podcasting,
Yeah.
that came with free software. So it came with like Pro Tools first, and it's all like brand new and shiny and stuff. So
Nice.
it was really familiar to what I've been using, but yet an upgrade. So I'm even going to use that even for certain demoing now, because it's just so much easier. It's not lazy. It's just kind of like, if I want to do the electric, or if I want to do the full kit, sorry,
Yeah.
I'll probably run it through the the space machine there that could fire a rocket or whatever. But even like miking the drums, Dane. I mean, I don't know if you've ever done that, bro, but I've even learned that in lockdown, how to like mic the drums properly, or to a decent standard, to get a good input in. And
Yeah. I've done a little bit. I did popular music in university, and like there was a little bit of that in there, but I never mastered it, or because I've always been recording with my brother or some other producer, it's never really been me solely in charge of that job.
yeah.
I think I could probably mic up a kit, but I wouldn't know how to do all the stuff on the computer to make it sound good.
Yeah, I'm
That's why I don't
kind of
know.
with you there. I'm still not at that level, but I was really chuffed. Well, I think it was in the summer. I'd kind of set up all the mics. It was just before I changed the room round and give it all a brand new look and everything. Set all the mics up, and I managed to get all of the sounds coming through decent.
Nice.
And I was like, yes, winning. Like, but I know what you mean. I mean, when you start putting the plugins on and stuff like that, it's a whole new world.
Yeah,
And then
I haven't got a clue. All that.
no,
way.
I'd rather spend that time kind of learning more about my drums or more about the music business. That's not a part that kind of, I think you have to be in that from day one.
Yeah.
But if I
'Cause when it
can
when it comes down to it, when you guys go and record an album, you're going to be going with some producer in some studio, right? So what you know about plugins and gain levels and all that doesn't really matter.
No,
because you're going to be paying someone else to do it who probably knows a lot more than you anyway. So that's why waste the time learning. That's kind of what I think about it, I think.
No, I agree. And they bring on your knowledge. I mean, Christ, I remember working with Ginge, I think early days with the Crows.
Oh, yeah.
And we were just kind of, Martin Ford, like, so we just finished recording some of Murder and Motive up in Rockfield. And he turned around and he said, you guys want to work with as many people as you can. It's like a footballer. He said, you want to work with as many people as you can to gain the knowledge. And I was thinking, Jesus Christ, Ginge, you didn't tell me that 15 years ago. I've been paying him for 15 years. Do you know what I mean? So I thought that was a chestnut he left out, like, but he is right, because as soon as we started working with, like, Colin Richardson and Chris Clancy, the bank kind of opened, like, it was like, whoa. And then obviously with Andy Sneapy in there as well, it was like, there was just new tricks and new things, even to prepping a drum kit and stuff. I'd never spent, like, say, for example, days like playing with a drum kit. Do you know what I mean? It's always normally go in, make your drum kit up, and then obviously we know the score, they get the best sound they can, and then they trigger over the top. Where we genuinely spent days like getting that solid foundation. Or that was the first time I'd ever experienced that, where,
well, that's good.
Where somebody could be asked to, like, change your skin because it sounds worn out, like, or just the fact of, like, there's 3 microphones on a bass drum because it sounds kind of sexy, like, or they're playing with the one microphone, or like, I think I had, thanks to Moose, when we did that session, I had like 10 snare drums, which I've never taken 10 snare drums into a studio. And we just sat there, and even by the end of it, Moose was totally right. I was like, I don't even know what's happening anymore. You're just hitting a snare and they're all starting to sound the same. But it was just that, like, exactly what you said. It's that knowledge of, like, they knew what they were after for the record. They knew what snare was the right one, like, so yeah, really cool, man. I mean, it's like different field to what me and you were used to, but it's interesting. And yet again, before COVID, and I hate to say that, but that is the reality of it. this conversation wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have.
Probably not.
And that's genuine. And you know, I'm always honest about that. I've kind of spent the last year learning so much about my drums, about technology, all the stuff that I kind of was ignorant before. Oh, I don't really need that, or I don't want to. I've managed to have the time, which we don't want that time. Like,
Yeah.
but I've managed to have that time to kind of level up on certain things, like, you know, so, which has just been an asset, bro. That's been a real, even down to like the setup on the kit. Where do we get the chance really to, unless you have in like your bros or whatever, but I've managed to, like, that's on about his 10th transition now of like setups.
Is it? All right. Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah, as in, like, you
to
know,
find your ideal setup, like.
Yeah, never had the time for that. I've always kind of played around with it, or took a quirky tom and put that in front, or I know you've done the same, like whether it be a 14 in front or whatever. And I've just never had that time to kind of go, oh, I'm going to do this today, or I'm going to try a smaller cymbal on my right hand side, because I've never done that. Just something, you know, and making it interesting. So when I'm actually on the drum kit, it's not a memory thing. You're having to concentrate because there's something new in different places. Do you know what I mean? So
that's really interesting, actually, because that's something that I've never really done. I've kind of since I guess I started gigging properly with like said mic back in the day. I've had one rack tom, one floor tom, 2 crashes there, right there, and then a china or another crash there, hi-hats there. I've never really fiddled with it, apart from the different sizes, and I do use 2 floor toms now, but I've never really thought about maybe using 2 rack toms or adding cymbals or moving the cymbals to different places, because I guess it's because I don't have a setup at home. I think if I had a setup at home, I could play around with, and I could use different cymbal options and try different things out. And I guess even when I'm like going to Todd's studio to rehearse with the band, it's always a bit of a rush. It's like set up as quick as you can, bish bash bosh, practice with the band, go home. Everyone wants to go home. That's what it seems to be like with my band anyway. And then in a studio situation, it's like, well, you haven't really got time to fuss with stuff like that. Yes, I tried different cymbals, different snare drums and stuff like that, but mainly all my stuff, or Todd's got a few things there as well. But yeah, I would like to fiddle around with it a bit more.
It really does help, dude. I mean, like I said, even yet again through COVID, I've played around with the whole you know, I've had a larger tom. I think I did that kind of before the tour as well. I tried it. Nice. The 18 being on the left hand side and the 16 being there.
How would you deal with that? It must make you really think. I wouldn't know what to do.
Weird. I mean, I kind of started to realize that I didn't use the 18 as much as it was more there cosmetically, because I'm exactly the same as you. I think that's why, like, even when we go back to when we were younger and we were both playing in bands and stuff, and I'd use your kit or you use mine, you were one of the drummers that sticks out, where I know you wouldn't mess my kit up, because it's almost, it's like I could get on your drum kit now and feel comfortable. Do you know what I mean? Might be a stool or the old, you know, you shuffle the snare, but you even do that to your own kit as well. Like, you know, it's the but yeah, it's that whole, that feels like home, like you said, 1 rack tom, 1 floor, or even 2. But yeah, it was bizarre. It was like, I did it for more like, I seen a lot of drummers, like especially metal drummers and Moose and stuff, and he'd have like the bigger drums up there and the gong.
He's got a gong drum, isn't he? Yeah, I'd love to have a bash on one of them. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I just kind of thought, do you know what? You know, I'll get this cannon going, like a big 18 on the left hand side. But it worked. I mean, especially when you're trying to get that build up vibe and stuff. I can imagine
for build ups it would be cool.
Yeah, it worked. But it hasn't really stuck. It hasn't it hasn't jammed. I mean, currently now I've got like a bit of a Nirvana vibe going, where I've got the 13. So I've kind of gone old school with me in here, where I've got the 13 in front.
Yeah.
And then there's a 16 floor tom. But then what I've done is set up a 10 just above it, like, you know. So it's kind of, you know, a Taylor Hawkins, Stuart Copeland vibe, where, you know, you can just roll off the 10 if you need it. But mainly it's that Nirvana vibe. I think when we went out on tour, I've never had a rack, dude. I mean, you're in a very heavy rock band. Oh, I know you're shaking your head. You're going to hate me by here now. So
No, that's all
I
right.
was, no, you
I'm
will.
just agreeing. I've never had a rack. I've never had a rack.
I since we were kids, like, I don't know, I always looked at big drummers and, you know, they had the big rack kit and all of that. And I'm quite a small drummer anyway. So I was like, when I got with the deal with Tama, he said, you know, he was showing me around and showing me the kits and stuff. I ended up going for that one. And it was basically the set that was 10, 12, 13, 16, 18. And then I went, oh, have you got a rack? And they were all laughing, going, oh, you don't want a rack, man. And they were obviously explaining like the way like technology is now because of obviously clamps. And I was like, nah, I think I got to have a rack. I just got to do it. What a pain in the ass. That's all I can say to you, dude. If I was lucky enough that I had a few mates doing drum tech work for me. But when it was just me on my own trying to do it, what a pain in the ass. Like, I was like, do you know what? Just take me back to one tom in front and a floor tom. It didn't last very well. And that was kind of a cool setup because I had the 10 to 12 in front, very like Manicsy or a lot of drummers who have the two toms.
Yeah.
But then I had the 13 set up, almost like a gong.
Interesting. Yeah. Over on your right.
On the right over the 16 and the 18.
Cool.
And the reason behind that, because somebody said that's really weird. I've never seen like a smaller drum. I said, well, the reason why I do it is I've got like the fusion-y kit, this fusion sound. But then if I want to go back to that 90s Nirvana, which that's what I grew up with, I kind of just use that 13 and 16 all on the right-hand side then. So it all becomes, it's fun, almost like, it goes back to mine and your setup, but in an orthodox kind of vibe, like, if that makes sense, you know? So
awesome.
There's bound to be a drummer who hits me up and goes, that's wrong.
That's what I love about drumming. Nothing is wrong or right. It's so everything can be completely personal, and you can do your own thing, whether that's technique or your setup. And that's what's cool about drumming. There's not just like, you know, with a guitar, it's got to be, well, I guess there are different tunings, but it still has to be in tune for it to work. And then you have an amp and then there's pedals or whatever, and then that's endless. That's another thing that can be addictive. So I'm glad I'm not a guitarist, because I used to work in a guitar shop, and the amount of like, well, let's just say, you know, you get people coming in 1 week, they'd buy a pedal or buy a guitar, they'd be in the next month, don't like that anymore, trading it in, buying something else, and the amount of money they're losing every time doing that, crazy. And it's just because they're trying to find this thing that doesn't exist, this perfect tone or perfect sound, that half of it's your fingers anyway, I think, in my opinion anyway. And so I'm glad I'm not a guitarist, because the thing with guitar pedals, they're small. You could buy 100 of them and they wouldn't take up that much room. They take up less space than a drum kit. So the one thing with drums is because they take up so much space, like in my head I'm like, well, I can't have that many because I haven't got anywhere to store them, so I've got to take it easy. I recently bought a kit now, but I'm like, I got to get rid of one now because I've just bought one.
I just seen
it. I can't justify it. I can't justify keeping them both because of the space. So I'll have a drum kit for sale soon, guys. If anyone's listening.
Behind that wall, there's like a storage room that runs basically all around.
Oh wow!
Around this room,
that's
so it's
cool.
like because this used to be like an old shoe shop.
Oh wow!
So man, so it's like a room within another room. It's quite kind of like Crystal Mazy, like, you know. And so my missus, when she went in the storage room to sort out, like, the storage room's like our attic, our version of the attic, like, and she went in there and she was just like, bloody hell, how many drum kits have you got? She hadn't noticed. It's like, I've got a vintage Premier kit that I haven't used for years. It's just like, I'm gonna get Bob to look at it, because like, obviously I heard him on your podcast. Yeah, man. Shane had met him before because he did the Cozy Bash. I only met Bob briefly, but because of your podcast, I don't know, it was just kind of like, I was like, I really want to know him more, which was cool.
Yeah.
Then we had him on the Crowcast, and I was like, now I really want to have a drink with Bob, and I want to kind of hang out and talk more drums with Bob. So I've got an old Premier kit there that I'm busting out when things settle down and we're allowed to kind of see each other. I want to go and take it over to him and go, what is this? Because I kind of had a guy called Nick Hopkins back in the day look at it, and he was like, whoa, he said, that's a couple of grand's worth. And I was
Really?
like, is it? I, I,
I
I
remember
bought it
Nick.
80 quid, dude, off a student.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he used to do vintage drums, didn't he?
Yeah.
And the story is, I was like, oh, I don't know, about 20, about, yeah, around like the said Mike Day's Misconduct vibe. And I think I just went and bought it off a student for 80 quid. And it's got the old metal bar that comes across, and it's got the dampeners in the drums. And I was just like, yeah, it's punk rocks, one tom up, one floor tom. It's got old thin, like spiky legs. And I was just like, so yeah, I'm going to take that over to Bob. And then my missus found my other kit, which was my original, like, Yamaha stage custom when I was like 19.
That's decent.
I was in a band called like National Shame, and I really wanted a brand new kit, and I couldn't afford one. I didn't have a job. And this dude, and it sounds a bit weird, but and it is when I look back at it, this dude kind of was like, let me buy you a drum kit. And I was like, well, what's the catch? What do I have to do? Do you know what I mean? And he was like, no, I just believe in you. He was like, and he kind of understood the position I was in. I'd just become a dad.
Right.
He loved my drumming and loved the band that I was in at the time. And he just said, let me help you. And I was like, oh, I don't know. He went, look, it's not for free. He said, you just pay me back when you can. You just pay me back. And fair play to him. Jock took me down to like West Wales, said, pick whatever drum kit you want. So I could have come out there with like anything, but I ended up just picking this Yamaha stage custom because of like the setup on it and everything. And I've still got that kit to this day now, just because of and I paid him back. I got a job, paid him back. And he was like, there's no rush now, don't forget you got the little girl. And I don't want you to, because he knew we weren't making money as we don't in music. He was like, no, just take your time. It was just more the fact that he just wanted to help, dude.
What a story.
He could have been loaded for all I know. But
so you didn't you didn't know you then? You didn't know him before? Like,
I got to know him. No, he wasn't like a growing up best mate or somebody that I had like a massive past with. He was literally, I joined, I mean, timeline wise, we can bounce back and forth, but this would have been around about when I was 19. I just kind of come out of a band with Shane and Shiner out of the Crows.
Oh, right, cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, I used to be, just to flip back, I used to be in a band with Shane and Shiner when we were in like college, and we were in like an indie band called Shirker. And we did all right, like, and there was a guy called Phil Jones. I don't know if you know him. He was a lecturer at Regent College.
I know.
Yeah, he played up like your way with his band called Sex. And he was a brilliant influence to like us and Jeff Giljohn and to other Bridgend bands. And he took us up to London. So we had all our pedigree thanks to Phil Jones. And then obviously, I'm going to say the whole musical differences. We all kind of got to a certain age, and Shane was more into like the singer-songwriter vibe. He was going down a different path. I didn't kind of know what I liked, but I knew I wasn't enjoying the music we were doing. So I got strayed by these old rockers, as you do.
Yeah.
And then they started going, have a listen to this, kid. And they were giving me mixtapes of like Iggy Pop and AC/DC and Motorhead and stuff like that. I was like, oh my God, I'd been listening prior to this to like, Nirvana and Green Day and just all the goodness of the 90s, which I grew up with.
Yes.
And obviously your Queen and Beatles and stuff like that. But I hadn't gone into this territory. This was like, what's this? So that's how I kind of warmed to them. And I was like, this is brilliant, guys. And then I started, they were only like, they doing originals, but it was mostly covers. So we were doing stuff like Riff Raff, rock and roll. Yeah, it was just like Iggy Pop and Stray Cats and a bit of the Manics.
Nice.
And then that dude who bought me that kit was like their manager, or he was basically a glorified mate in the pub with a bit of business sense. And he was like, oh, I'll manage the band. And that's what it was. He was like, oh, you need a new drum kit? And I was like, yeah, but I can't afford one. And he just went and helped me, like, and that drum kit kind of then took me through to other bands after that, like your Misconducts and stuff. And, do you know what I mean? So it was mad, but he seen something more in me, like, he was just like, he was the reason I left that band. And if any of the boys heard it, it was just like we did a gig up in London, and I thought it was a really good gig. I was like, oh, that gig went really well. And he went, nah, you've got to leave. And I was like, what?
What?
And he was like, they ain't going anywhere, dude. I was like, what? He was like, they're lovely guys. I love them to bits. He was like, but you can tell you're hungry and you want to get out there. And he's like, look, the longer you stay, the more you're going to be held down in Bridgend. So you need to go and get yourself back in a band with your mates again, and keep going on that original path, like, because they're going to start doing more covers, and then you're going to be in that pool of musicians. And he said, just break away now, like, you know. And I was like, wow, we just had a good gig.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, but really, you know, people like Assy, Dane, you can't forget them on the journey. They're part of it, and they
definitely, yeah.
So he was an influence there, especially with drums. That's why I brought him up, because, you know, he was catalytic. You know, my dad was a drummer.
Wow.
But he didn't influence me as much as, like, say, other people did. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, this is coming from a drummer who played with, like, Dusty Springfield, BBC, bloody big shows and stuff like that. But my dad was more your classic signature session musician, like, you know, rather than and big bands. And so, you know, he'd gone down all of that path, where when I kind of told him at 14 that I wanted to be in a rock band or a punk band, he was just like, that's not music. And I was like, I want to learn how to play drums, Dad. And my dad, he was in all fairness, like, no matter how much me and him argue or whatever, he was a phenomenal drummer, as in he played proper crosshand.
Yeah.
He could play straight if he wanted to, but he would play proper crosshand.
It's like, was that traditional grip? Is that what you mean?
Traditional, yeah.
Yeah, or there's different words for it.
Yeah. And he'd be playing, and, like, I've seen him in jazz sessions, and I took mates to watch him, like, when he was in his 70s and stuff. And he'd be playing, like, literally doing pretty much one-hand rolls, and then reaching down for his drink, having a drink, putting the drink back down, and then just kicking back in. The musicianship, man, was, like, off the scale, you know, and you just see all their feet go in, and it's like it's proper jazz, you know. You were waiting for the jazz. It was just like, but he was old school as well, because, like, when I sat down with him to learn the drums, I was like, Dad, you got to teach me how to play the drums. They want me to play drums in school. It was the case of, like, I'd sit down at the drums, and then he'd want me to learn Mama Dada, which would be your rudiments. And, like, as soon as he'd leave the room, I'd have, like, ducky blasting. I'd start, like, trying to work out Trey Cool's beats. Yeah. And he'd come back in, and he'd hit your hand, like, proper old school headmaster vibe. You know, hit your hand. I'd be like, whoa, what do you do? And then I'm like, I'm fed up of playing a snare drum. I just want to, you know, I want to play a drum kit. I want to play a drum kit. I want to play on your drum kit. And he'd be like, you learn to play that first.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think that's where a lot of teachers insist on doing, and I never did that, but this is why I've got massive holes in my playing, because I never sat down and learned all that.
If I could go back, I wouldn't have been such a stubborn bugger. My dad took away the snare drum that day, and that was the last lesson I ever had.
Oh wow.
So it was my first lesson off him, and it was also my last. So what I did was I built a drum kit in my room of pillows. Yeah. And that's how I started, like, putting it together in my head. And then when he used to do shows, because he'd be in, like, an orchestra pit and stuff, so when he would do shows, like, in the breaks and the intervals and stuff, obviously there wasn't a crowd there, so it'd be between, like, if he did matinees and stuff, like morning shows and evening, I'd run on his drum kit in the, like, literally that, and that was it, like, you know, that's what got me hooked. And then sitting next to bloody Moose in class, which I think he said on his podcast, on your podcast. Sitting next to him, and he was just like, I need a drummer, you can play. And I was like, and that was, like, literally my entry into being in a band, like, was like Moose saying, you need to play drums. So we'd sit there, and he'd be putting, like, Megadeth in my ear and stuff, in, like, the old headphones. So we were both sharing one each, I know, like, trying to stretch them, and getting me kicked out of class and stuff, because I'd be, like, walloping the table and the teacher kicking off, and then he's laughing, and as I'm standing outside the window of the porter cabin and stuff. So yeah, he, believe it or not, was a massive influence as well. You know what I mean? There's all these people along the way who, without them, I kind of wouldn't have got to that point of that dude buying me a drum kit, and now I got like three in the back. Like,
that's mad. No, fair play. So, like, you've kind of mentioned a lot of your, I guess that is your drum journey, really. And so did you join a band with Moose, or is that what you mean?
yeah, well, like the proper journey is, I took geography because my dad wanted me to have a proper education. So
Proper.
music was proper.
Yeah.
Music was on my options. And he scratched that one straight off. So I was
Wow.
like put straight in geography, and sitting there first day, as you do after you've done your options, you're sitting in class, door just bursts open. In comes my music teacher, Peter Jones, has a little word in the geography guy's ear, calls me out of the room. I go out to the classroom, shuts the door, and he goes, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, and I thought I'd done something wrong. I was like, and he was going, "Why are you doing this? What are you doing?" And I was like, well, I wanted to do music, but my dad wouldn't let me. He said, "Your dad knows nothing." So he took me down to the music room. He said, "You ain't going back in there." I can't remember like the actual dialogue, but you ain't going back in there. He was going to tell my dad. It didn't matter about me or anything. He was going to tell my dad. Took me down to the music room. There was a load of boxes, and he goes, "Right, your first lesson, open them." And I opened up the boxes, and there was drums. I was like, "Whoa." And he was like, "Right, your first lesson is how to put it together. Now you're doing music, and I'll tell your dad." And that was it. That's how I learned how to put a drum kit together, was thanks to Peter Jones.
Amazing.
Once we put it together, he sat in the piano and he taught me how to tune it by pressing the piano. So he'd do the key, and I was like, "Oh, wicked." So I tuned the drum kit. He didn't do none of this for me. He made me do it. And then he started playing the first ever song I played on a drum kit. He started playing Shine Jesus Shine, like proper old school comprehensive teacher.
Yeah.
Started playing Shine Jesus Shine on the piano. And to this day, I didn't realize I just naturally busted out a 4/4, AC/DC. And I didn't even know what I was doing, dude. I didn't know where did that come from. It was like, wow, there was like, and I'm talking like proper in time. Everything was there, and I was just playing. And then when I realized, I'd be like doubling up with my hand, and I'm like, "Oh my god, cool! Like I can kind of play the drums." And then I went home, and I was like proper excited. And I obviously told my dad. My dad wasn't happy about it. I had Green Day Ducky, and that's what I said. I had the pillows there, and I'd just be like learning the record. And one day, Moose heard me do Burnout, which was off Ducky.
Okay.
So there would be that break, and I just started busting this thing out at like 14. And I swear to this day, I don't know what the rudiments are to it, or I don't know the drum breakdown. It'd all just be by ear. And Moose was like, "Join my band."
Yeah, because he played guitar, right? At the start.
Man. And that is genuinely, he got me in the first band. So I jammed before that with Shane in like the music room, the singer of the Crows now. Me and him used to jam all the time in the music room. But the first like official band was Moose going, "Come and play drums in my band." So I went and joined his band, and it was sick, dude. It was just like, he was like, you could tell he wanted it. It was just like, even from that age, like my first gigs and stuff were like these Nirvana-esque style, loads of kids jumping around, going crazy, long hair, playing like for whom the bell tolls with Metallica. And I remember him, it was so funny because he'd be like saying to me, "Right, play this one, learn this one next," and he'd give you a tape and whatever. And I'd be listening to it. He's like, "No, it's more like, da 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 ba." And even then he had the drum sense into him. And that's how we like learned. We were destined to go into the studio. He was like, "Right, we're going to go to the recording studio. We're going to record our own stuff." Because I think we had songs like, I was talking to about like a year ago, with songs like Bouncy Shit and Life's a Car Park. And it's brilliant, but honestly, and Cheer Up, Life's a Car Park. Don't know what that's about, but it was brilliant. And we used to go up to the local youth club and just rehearse up there, which would be like a gig, because there'd be like 20, 30 kids either, smoking pot or drinking cider or whatever. And then they ram into this youth club, knock the lights off, and it'd be like Nirvana Teen Spirit vibe, you know, everyone's just moshing and
cool.
And that advanced, and Moose was like, we're going in the studio. I was like, epic. Then we went and done this festival before we did the studio called Panic in the Park. I was 14. Dad loved me playing cricket at the time. He was like, yo, my boy's a great cricketer. And I was all right on the old bat. Like,
oh, wow. Nice.
And I met a few rockers that day, and that completely changed my path, dude. That's all I can say. I got so intoxicated. It was incredible. We played the gig. We were first on in the festival. Moose is like pulling his trousers down, pulling moonies as I'm on the drums. It was very, very punk rock as he's playing the guitar. And then afterwards, we came off, and everyone, you're talking, there was a couple of thousand there as well up in Ogmore Vale. Yeah, a couple of thousand there up in Ogmore Vale in a field.
Wow.
And it was just crazy because I come off, and that was like my first like moment where I didn't even know what a rock star was, right? That was the truth. But it was more the case of you felt, oh, wow, this is cool. Everyone in school, he's the drummer, man. And he, you know, and everything. And you're like, whoa, wicked. And then an older guy, because I was only 14, would be like, do you want a beer? And I'd be like, yeah, I'll have a beer. And that beer led into like 10 beers where even the boys are going, look at Ronnie, fair play to him. I'm going, yeah, you know, drinking. Like 14, didn't go home that night. That's the bad thing. I didn't go home. I remember waking up on a settee. It was like something out of a 70s movie. There was people doing drugs. It was like, yeah, honestly, now it's like, you know, whoa, what's going on? Like, you know, and I'm there, and I'd been spewing all night. Everybody been trying to look after me. But I had cricket trials the next morning for really important cricket trials, which my dad was like, this is his break, you know, and all of that. Of course, punk rock Ronnie didn't go home. He sends the police out looking for me because obviously, you know, you're back 1990.
Before mobiles, was it? Before Nokia 5110s.
Oh, way before
that.
Yeah, way before the brick and that. So, you know, he'd phoned around. And anyway, it was like the walk of shame, but it wasn't. It was like, he picked me up from this house. They found out that I was all right and I'd been safe and I slept on this settee and everything. And obviously I pulled up at Moose's house the next morning, and my dad had said to her, look, I found him. He's all right. And I remember Moose's mum coming over to the window going, have you taken drugs? And I was like, no. I was just so hungover. I've never had an hangover before.
Yeah.
Moose was like, dude, you were sick. That was amazing. It was brilliant. and like, we were friends with all the older musicians because of that. And, as soon as I got home, my dad was like, you ain't been in that band and you're never going up there again. And it was just like, oh, no. So what I used to do was sneak a drum kit, which was, my house was about 10 miles, but about a 25-minute bus drive from where I lived to where Moose lived.
Right.
So I used to, when my dad, because he was obviously a drummer, when he'd go out on gigs, what I used to do is run, and this is no shit now, I used to run with a bass drum around the corner where the bus stop was. Don't know how anything weren't stolen. Put the bass drum in the bus shelter, run back to my mum and dad's house, grab the toms and whatever I could, run back to the bus stop. Bus would pull up, I'd load a drum kit onto the bus, and when I got to Ogmore Vale, the boys would be the other end and they'd take the drum kit off. And then to the point where I even used to borrow like Padge's drum kit up a valley and stuff. And then my dad kind of caught wind of it and we were about to record and he was like, that's it, you got to leave the band. So I didn't do the recording, and the rest is kind of history there, because Moose got fed up of me not turning up and started playing drums. And I was literally it, like, so that's how he went down that path of playing drums more.
Yeah.
And then sadly, I was kind of like, oh no, get in. So I had to like get back into the music thing again later on. And thank God I'd still been jamming with Shane in the music room. And that's how we kind of started our band. So the singer of the Crows now, Shane, that's how like we started a proper band then. So we got a band together called Shirka, which Shiner joined which is Moose's brother afterwards.
Yeah.
And we managed to kind of do it that way, which was a bit more local to where I lived, and we could kind of do it in school, so I didn't have to kind of tell my dad I was doing the whole band thing again, and just kind of wait it out until I got to college and then do the whole, I ain't doing what you telling me, man.
That's crazy. It's a shame
It is
that
when it comes from a musician. I mean, you think your dad, like, do you know what I
my
mean?
dad always encouraged me to kind of,
Yeah.
he never like told me, well,
Yeah, my dad was the opposite, and he knows that to this day. I mean, he regrets it. He says that, like, you know, I mean, obviously years ago when he see me, like, I think when we did like Full Ponty, that was the day, because so yeah, sorry, I obviously went on to do a band with Shane Shirker. That did really well. We started doing like Pepsi charts. My dad was still like, this is nothing. Then after we did the whole musical differences after college and school, I ended up in the rock world with that band. Who the guy bought me the drum kit. That didn't work out. Went into several like punk bands. I think I played with you. That's when I met you then along that way, which was Then Came Bronson. We were doing like so we were kind of like a pop punky kind of band. Nothing really serious. You know, we'd had some London shows or whatever, but nothing to like stamp a career, or I didn't go on tour with Led Zeppelin or anything like fancy. Then that evolved to Misconduct, and that's how we proper met. And that would be my first proper break, where I remember when we got the band to the stage where we played like the Full Ponty and it was like 10,000 people there or whatever it was. I just remember taking the shot, because there wasn't like camera phones yet again, but somebody had took a photo and showing my dad the thing, and he still wouldn't have it. And even when he went on, even when he was on TV, he was like, that bloody rock thing, you know, and I just don't get it, like, you know. But weirdly, the only drummer he would ever give respect for out the rock world would be I do like that Guns N' Roses drummer, Matt Sorum.
What? That's random.
Yeah. Random as hell, dude. That's the only drummer like out of like the rock world. I'd be naming drummers to him all the time, like especially with Queen and Stuart Copeland with the Police and stuff. You think my dad would be all over that? He was like, no.
Yeah, you think he'd be into the jazzier, kind of rock drummers, like Ian Pace and the Bill Wards and people like that. That's crazy.
Yeah, he knew, he'd met Ginger Baker and he'd met Buddy Rich and people like that, and so he had like massive respect for them. But he had a really bad like I think he had a like something happened with Keith Moon back in the day with my dad.
What?
Yeah. There was a bit of a scuffle, and I think from that point on, my dad like looked down at rock drummers. Like, do you know what I mean? He was just like, rock drummers are the devil. It's almost like water boy. Like, do you know what I mean? So, and then just had a totally different respect for other musicians. It was almost like we're below a proper musician, because he could read music. He could just step in. You know, when I used to say I'm going to practice, he'd be like, huh. Like, well, yeah, you got to practice. Now you look at Instagram drummers and stuff, they're constantly telling you to practice. You know, my dad's like, well, he's 94 now, dude. So, so he had me late in life. So it was like completely different mindset as well. So that's probably important to say, of the age, you know, when you're born in 1926, and he went through all the Beatles stuff. You know, he was playing with bands like Joey and the Gentlemen and stuff like that. And so he did that whole thing. And he was like, why would you want to be in a rock band and not get paid? Like, he knew that straight away. He'd be like, because they used to have like an old ambulance, and he said, oh, no, that wasn't for me. Because he used to get paying jobs, obviously, for like bigger artists. He could go in, like, that was the thing, you know, I had to respect him. My dad could go and do one gig, come home, and we go on holiday, because it was just like, whoa,
that's amazing.
Yeah, you know. So in all fairness, he made his kind of, but he also didn't have no royalties, so he did a lot of films and stuff like that, and he did a lot of radio work, he did a lot of album work, but didn't have no royalties, just totally all about the money, like, you know. So that's something I've educated him now, because he looks back and he thinks, Christ, he should be kind of more well off. But sadly, when you take in, which would have been a lot of money, say like for a session, maybe like £20 back in the day, which would be the equivalent now to going out for a couple of hundred, say, for example. But
Yeah.
the royalties obviously would have paid him a lot more, especially some of the records he's done and I like, you know, so
That's crazy.
so yeah, crazy, innit? It is.
You've got to be careful what deals you make when you sign up to these things. I guess people are a bit more savvy about it now. If you're doing session work and stuff. But I guess I'd like to speak to more drummers that are in that field of work on this podcast. So there's a few people I've got in mind that I just haven't really contacted yet. That they're in that world. They've kind of done the rock band thing.
Yeah.
Or they're doing both, I guess. But, you know, they're involved in that session stuff. Because it would be interesting to know, like, do you even have a way of negotiating to get some royalties? Is it more like, I employ you to play on this, I'm paying you this amount of money, that's it, take it or leave it? I don't really know how it works, because drumming doesn't class as songwriting in the traditional sense, sadly.
Very true.
From like a publishing point of view, it doesn't. It's irrelevant, unfortunately.
Yeah,
it's all to do with like the agreement of the band or whatever.
Which is wrong, really, because like certain grooves or certain things can really take a song into a different. So that's like a completely. I've talked about this to loads of drummers and loads of musicians. Like, you know, they don't realize. I know it's different now because we're living in like 2021. They can just be like, yeah, well, we'll just use a drum machine.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, but back then, you know, it would take a certain finesse to walk into a studio and do. My dad was what I call a money saver, so he could go in, get the job done.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't have to waste a lot of time on takes and stuff.
That's why they wanted him, because they save time. Yeah. Well, like, I don't know if you listened to the episode with Ash Sheehan. If you haven't, he's on my podcast. He plays for Glenn Hughes, but he does a lot of session work. And he said that he gets employed because he just goes in there, doesn't mess about, just gets the job, leaves, and then they move on to the next guy. And that's why he's sought after maybe in his area. I don't know where he works, but he gets getting called back because he's quick, bish bash bosh, get it done. And he's an amazing player, so he's confident in his abilities. And then but yeah, he says, like, whatever kit's there, I'll just use it. I won't even change the setup of it. I'll just play it, go home, take my money, go home, and then they move on.
Well, that's what my dad used to say. He was like, you don't want to be an asshole and stuff like that. But I used to be there from so I do, like, you know, I wasn't like handed a gift or anything. It was just the fact of my dad would take me to a lot of shows the same as yours.
Yeah.
But my background, rather than being like rock or anything like that, was the whole like rehearsals in a production of a show.
Cool.
So whether, you know, it was very cool. Now I look back and I appreciate that. So like when I say to you, I kind of love writing, like, you know, I love writing with Shane, or I've loved writing in other bands. It's because I can kind of hear like maybe certain melody lines. But that would have been thanks to my dad without realizing it. But put me in the pit and you're just sitting there. And as a kid, you're bored. You are like, I was really bored, especially when you've seen a show like, you know, sometimes it'd be 2 shows a day that would be running for 8 weeks. It's the same show. So you more notice the mistakes rather than the actual show. So if something went wrong, I could tell you all about that. I'd be like, oh, that person forgot their line, or I knew all the, you know, because you know it robotically, like, you know, even my dad's drum parts, I knew when he was going to pick up a bird wobbler to do certain like effect or whatever, because that's what they used to do back then. There was nothing digital.
Yeah, that's true.
Anybody watching or listening to this, there was nothing like, oh, I'll put that sound effect up now and let me just program that in. It'd be, you know, if they wanted birds as they're talking in a lovely forestry, my dad would be there with a little like plastic bird with a like almost like you blow into it, fill it with a little bit of water, and that would give the like birds in the background. Crazy, dude. But that's like the, you know, that's, or he'd be there with his bells and stuff, or his timps. He'd have like timp set off to the side, so you'd have a whole percussion area as well as his drum kit. But then I would also have the asset of having like Ted Boyce at the time, who was a really, really cool like musical director. I'd sit behind him as well, so I'd be watching him on this like big double organ while he's conducting the band as well. And It was brilliant to watch him like bringing in other people's parts and watching him turn in his score. So how I didn't go down that field, I don't know. I think it was just more of a rebellious thing against my dad. Plus
Possibly.
I was more interested in being on the stage. I think I said that to one of our guests recently. I was always more interested being on that stage of like, I don't know, like it was just kind of like, it was the urge to be part of the show
Yeah.
rather than like, I
In
don't
the
know. I don't want
background.
to put down or discredit any musician. Yeah, man. Do you know what I mean? It was almost like I just wanted something different, and I don't know what that would have been back then. And it wasn't like fame or nothing like that. It was just almost like I wanted wanted to be part of that, like, you know, rather than the just making sounds in the background or that's that dude or whatever his name is. Like, do you know what I mean? Just a bit more impact to it. So I do respect him for that because I learned the whole, you know, behind the scenes and how a show would be, or I've been to studios with him, and I wouldn't really take in the studio side of it, to be honest. It was because I'd just be in a control room and my dad wasn't there long yet. Again, like you said, if they were pretty good, they would walk in, get handed his sheet of music, maybe talk it through with what they needed. He'd bosh it out and that'd be it. Like, do you know what I mean? So, but the big band stuff really got me going. I love that. When I seen him, like, I only seen him like maybe once or twice do it because it kind of faded out by the time I got to a certain age. But I seen him in like 18 or 20 odd piece big bands. And I'd be in awe of like how everyone came together, or the sound of it, like doing like In the Mood by Glenn Miller or Benny Goodman and stuff like that. Like, do you know what I mean? So it was just really cool. And that, like, an impact, you know, like they say with a bass drum hitting you in the chest and stuff. I used to get that from like all the horn section when it all used to kick in and stuff, and it'd be like, whoa, that's a real cool thing. Or you'd realize the velocity of it all, like the control over the musicianship, you know what I mean? So, and yet again, my dad was so controlled because he knew like how to hit the cymbal properly, not break them like me. Like,
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, that's another bloody conversation. You could have a whole conversation about breaking cymbals, but yeah, man. Well, I can understand where you would have got that kind of production side of music from being exposed to all of that from a young age, because like that's something I've never really, apart from I was the drummer in a few school concerts, but the band was literally the music teacher on piano, the DT teacher on guitar, and then I think there was one that my mate was playing bass, who was my age, and I was playing drums. Well, that was the band. It wasn't a big orchestra or anything.
Yeah.
It would have been great to have been involved in that. But no, that's so interesting. I didn't know any of that about you or your history or your dad or anything. So thank you for sharing that. It's awesome. But let's talk a little bit about Those Damn Crows. And for anyone, I'm sure a lot of my listeners will already know the band, but for anyone who doesn't know you, how would you describe your sound? Because I think you've got quite a unique sound. How would you describe it, being in the band yourself?
Melodic rock with like a maybe a heavier undertone. I don't know. It's always hard, isn't it, when they ask you, dude? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like, but yeah, really melodic. Just the thing is, there's so many kind of bands that we all like within that we don't necessarily try to sound like anybody. We just kind of do what we do, like, if that makes sense. So
yeah, that's good.
And I think part of the beautiful thing with the Crows was like when it kind of started, I'd quit music. I was done around 30, just done with like being in the whole, like, fed up again into bands and getting so far in bands. I don't know if you've been there, Dane, but you just get so far and then like the singer leaves, and or you get so far and you lose a deal, or it just everything's going. And for me, like, you know, I had this house when me and the wife were like 20, 21.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, and I had like 3 kids. So it was never ever about commitment for me, bro, where like when we knew each other when we were younger, I was always committed. So I might have been like the only dude in the scene at that point, possibly, who had his own house or would have been married, would have had kids. But yet my commitment was far more than anybody else. Do you know what I mean? It was just like, I just kind of, I don't know, after like speaking to Mark Mendoza, I kind of maybe didn't find the right players, the right cats, as he would put it, the right I just kind of was drawn more to people who were only doing it maybe just on a local thing. And then as it was getting bigger, it became harder and more committed. So it kind of just sucked a lot of life out of me. By the time when you're 14 to 30 and all you want to do is make it in a rock and roll band, you get more infatuated with the making it. And you lose focus of why you actually started drumming, as we just talked about, like the buzz of playing, like, you know, or being in a punk rock band with Moose, or being in a school or a college band with Shane and Shiner, and traveling to London and having those experiences of leaving your hometown and, oh my God, we're all in together, boys. You know, we've left Bridgend and we're in London. This is amazing. You forget all of that. All of a sudden, it's about, why can't we get on tour with Alkaline Trio?
Yeah, you don't appreciate the little things so much. Yeah.
Why in our album doing as well as them? Why ain't this happening? So it does start to kind of cross, or you feel like you're on a meter of losing members. Well, if I don't start earning money soon, you know, I'm gonna have to look at something else. Oh fuck! You're like, oh no, my band's gonna fall apart. So that anxiety creeps in, and there was a lot to play. So 30, I give it up. Then decided to buy myself a load of recording gear. And then do it as an hobby. It was literally, and I hated that. If anybody would have said that to me up to 29, oh, it's a nice hobby, I would have like literally roasted you on the spot. I'd have been like, no, I'm doing this music thing because I love it, and this music thing. And then I'd name bands then, dude, that we all know, like Bullet for My Valentine's, Funeral for Friends, Skin Dreads, and I'd be naming them all, going like, they've made it, see, so it is possible. Because you know what it's like around our place. It's Definitely. So easy to be like drawn down in the sewerage of negativity, or you know, when you get a proper job, and especially for me, I didn't have the weight off my wife. I certainly didn't off my little ones because they were only kids, but the family or strangers would be like, oh, you got kids, man, you got to start looking at this, you know, you got to give that band thing up soon, haven't you? you know what I mean? You're like, what? So the pressures get to you, and then 30, I was like, oh, do you know what? Fuck it, maybe they are right. And I kind of went into a different avenue. I went and bought a business with my mate, and started spending more time on that and less time on like being passionate about music. Started writing in the side with Shiner. That started evolving, started jamming then with Lloyd. And it was like, oh, this is really cool. So like where you're saying, what's the sound of the Crows? It was like, we just decided to be different, as in like, just do what you want, as in be creative, but let's not be popular, as in, if, you know, a band like Bullet make it, let's not all start doing harmony riffs and, you know, looking like them because we want to get there. Just do what we do and don't worry about anybody else. And if we like what we're writing, hopefully everybody else. I know that's such an easy way to put it as an analogy, but that's the truth. It was like, we had a couple of singers, and this is a true story. We started coming down to your brother's place. I don't know if you knew that, or but it's a true story, whether your brother remembers it. It was when he had the rehearsal rooms. We started taking in a life. I started singing, and you don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear that. But we were so adamant about like enjoying music, bro. Going back to that foundation of like, when, like I said to you, being in a band with Shane and Shiner when we loved it, being in a band with Moose when it was fun, we were trying to emulate that. And we did. We'd be in your brother's place, and I remember we'd just be banging out riffs and I'd be singing like, Jesus Christ, like a drowned trumpet, like, you know. And,
you can't be worse than me.
Oh, I don't know, but
we'll have a sing off one day and see who's the worst.
Yeah, we'll have sing wrong off, and like Jesus. But and it was kind of there, and it was like grungy, and we were like, oh, that sounds cool. Then the Lloyd being Lloyd was like, oh, we should start looking for singers, and I knew Shiner still wanted to be in a band at that point, and I had the fear of like, oh no, I don't know if I want to do this again. Oh no, I'm earning very good money now. I earn very good money. I pay my mortgage now. I can go on holidays now. Oh, I don't know if I want that. So I was kind of like holding it up for a bit, and then we started trying singers down your brother's place. Nothing was vibing, and then out of nowhere, and it's like as if the world's like aligned. Shane just appeared. I hadn't seen him for like 10 years. Bits and bobs, like as you're passing, Bridgend's a small town, but nothing serious. my mum had recently passed, his dad had passed, and he was like, so we were talking about that, and I was like, whoa, dude, oh, sorry, we're there for you. Sorry, we're there for you. Then he was like, look, will you do some drumming for me? He'd done a track, and I was like, yeah, sure, man. Shane came up the house, did the drumming, and you know how it goes. Oh, what are you up to, En? As you've probably done with your old boys and stuff. What are you up to?
Yeah.
We're doing this and stuff like that. So we started playing him some demos, and the first track he heard was Blink of an Eye.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, okay. He was like, do you mind if I take that? Or it went something along our line. He wanted to just take it, have a sing on it. Off he went. He took our track, dude, and when he came back with it, that's when I wanted to be back in a band. I heard, and that's a genuine thing. That is, I'd watched. It must have been everything happening at the same time. I watched several documentaries, Foo Fighters back and forth. Then I bought the Wasting Light album, which I think is class.
Yeah.
Then I watched the Lemmy documentary.
Yeah.
Then I'd watched Anvil documentary, and all of a sudden it was like being stabbed with that drug. And I'm going, oh no, it's happening again. Oh no, I'm like, I can't be doing this. No. And when Shane came back with that vocal with Blink of an Eye, I was just like, that's it. Shiner at the time was being like, oh, I don't know, maybe have another track off. And I'm like, I'm telling you, but that's the one. That's it. I said, because I tell you why, he doesn't sound like Corey Taylor. I mean, at the time, dude, there we go. I was even thinking of asking Neil, because I know you were doing, it was very on with like Phil Campbell and the All Stars back then.
Yeah.
You'd done like a shop party for me and stuff. And then it was mentioned that you couldn't do a lot of the drumming or something. And then one of the boys went, bloody hell, I forgot you could even drum, forgot you were about. And then I think you just didn't have that time off, and you guys just went, and I never had the phone call. But even that started kickstarting the brain going, I never jammed with Neil and all that. It was never a full-time job. It was to step in if you couldn't do it. But it was like,
yeah.
Well, that would be cool if that ever happened, or if I ever got offered that. But then me even thinking that, then going, why are you thinking that? You don't want nothing to do with that. It's like, so then Shane giving this track, then I'm going, oh my God, what is going on? This is like an injection of you back in the rock world, like, or you want to get back in there. And that's when we started the band. It was almost like it just worked. No name. It was just a gradual, steady pace. And then all of a sudden, Shane being driven and having like this mighty second wind of a ship you've never seen was just like, I'm telling you, this has got legs. I'm going, and I'm thinking to myself, oh no, let's not do this now. Let's not pile pressure on the band. He's going, I'm telling you, and we used to stay then in Music Box. So we came down your gaff.
Yeah.
Yet again, we were at your brother's place with Shane.
Yeah.
And I've said it on a Crowcast before. My memory was like, it was brilliant. We were jamming like Fear of the Broken, and I just remember the door flying open, just like as if it opened on its own. And your dad was standing there, and he just went, riffs. And then the door just shut automatically. And I was like, fucking hell. I was like, well, if Phil likes it, there must be something going on there. Like,
yeah.
So it was little things like, there must be something happening there. And then we started practicing down in Music Box, and practice would end at 9 o'clock because we all had jobs and everything. So practice would end at 9 o'clock. 4 o'clock in the morning, we're leaving Cardiff.
What? Just chatting outside and stuff, like, or whatever.
Then we would stand outside with seagulls flying over. It's like down in Music Box.
Yeah.
Plotting of like, well, we could do this, we could do that, we could do this would be cool. And in my head all this time, I'm going, oh no, man, oh God, this is going to start getting serious. And like, fair play to Shane, he was like, it's almost like he came in with it with just a different look on it. I'm not going to say nothing insulting of like he didn't understand it. He just had a belief in it. Where I was coming from it, where I was hurt and damaged and a bit bitter. It's true to say that I was bitter over like maybe bands I should have gone a certain way, or decisions that should have happened, or maybe bands I should have left. So I started blaming myself, and Shane just came in with this, like, as if I was like 16 again. We just like rekindled, and I was like, oh no, I don't know if it's too late. But slowly but surely, you know, same old poison starts happening. Start playing shows up in London. One person hears it. Oh, that's great. And then the momentum starts moving. We go and record a record up in Rockfield. Momentum starts moving, but we were doing the live shows and it was like, something's missing by you. So yet again, it's that older look on the band. Something's going wrong by you. And it was the fact of live. We were producing these songs on record, but live, it just wasn't kind of gelling up, Shiner being the only guitarist. So hence why Dave came along. It was like, we need somebody else. And there was a couple of people yet again in the running for it, but we just had to have that right fit, dude. You know what I mean? It was like straight away, it had to be, because we built these foundations of friendship and past and like the open, literally an open counseling session, basically, of like, you know, I told the boys, like, you know, music killed me. I don't know if I'm ready for this. And it was like everyone helping each other and promising each other, look, we'll all be there for that. Or if that decision doesn't go right, we'll talk about it honestly. So it was like this real camaraderie. The name was irrelevant. I mean, it was just, we did the whole 1,000 names in an act or whatever. She was thinking of stuff that meant stuff and whatever. I'd gone down my dad's one day, because like I said, he's obviously getting on now. He'd been feeding the birds out in the garden and like crows just landed and he went, those damn crows.
Wow.
I thought amazing. It was funny how he said it. He was like, those damn crows. And I was like, that's brilliant. And I thought, I'm going to go home now, write a song. So I started writing this lick, which had like the top line of those damn crows. And then I sent it over to the boys and I think Lloyd loved it. And then it started catching on. And like I said to you, the momentum started moving then, dude. It was like we started becoming more of a band. And then we made a list then, which is something I'd never done in any other band. I started making like all a bucket list of all stuff that I'd like to do.
Nice.
And I just thought, you know what? If I don't get to do all of these, there's nothing to lose. It doesn't matter at all. If I tick some of them along the way, brilliant. So I started looking at music as a different perspective then of, I'm not in this to make it now because I have made it. I'm healthy. My family's healthy. I got my own house.
Yeah.
I'm all right. Like,
that's pretty good. Yeah.
So if this music thing kicks off, then that's brilliant. But I'm never now going to stop playing music because the industry or because of band members or anything like that I'd kind of taken personal in the past. And as I'm doing this in the psychology and like, as I'm growing as a person, the band is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And the decisions are becoming more and more. So then we get a record deal and I'm like, oh no, because I'm starting to, like I said to you earlier, oh no, here we go. You know, what's going to happen? And I'm thinking, well, I'm in a really good position for you because I own my own business. I'm in a cushy position. If I want to do this, that's brilliant. Talked to my business partner at the time. He was fine with it. Yeah, no worries. But the more you drink that portion, the more you dabble with the devil and like the more I wanted to do it and the more that everything else I was doing just felt like a chore. And then Shane gave up his job and I was like, no, I was like, why are you doing that, dude? And he was like, if I don't give up my job right at this point, he was like, I'll never know whether I get successful in music. And I was like, oh, dude, but I've been there in bands before and we're not young now. And I'm like, bloody hell. And he was like, you don't have to tell me, but I'm a grown ass man. And I know my own responsibilities. But he said, if I don't commit to this now 100%, we're not gonna push on. And he was totally right because he knew that doing the whole juggling and stuff like that and like, you know, coming from a job that he did, which was a very good job, house, everything, he knew that life, that horrible thing gets in the way, the mechanics of like working for the man and then you come home and you're tired, dude, and you haven't got time then to go, oh, I got to spend 3 hours tonight. As you know, the pain of it to do a podcast or to so Shane committed very early on, a couple of years ago now, good few years ago, kicked the band on, and then as we're getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and the opportunities and that list I'm telling you now, the bucket list, I'm going, oh, I played there. I always wanted to play there when I was a kid. Bump, ticking that.
Amazing.
Oh, well, we're doing that, ticking that.
They're probably like manifesting, didn't they? You've manifested this for yourself.
Yeah, it grew. It just grew perfectly. And then all of a sudden, then I find myself sitting in a van thinking, I'm jealous of him because he's doing this full time, and I should be doing that. Because if this was the old me now, can you imagine like where the band would be again with two people with that drive?
Yeah.
And I'm almost fighting these demons and like the push and pull of life. To the point anyway, I think I came back. We got in the charts, as you know, so we're pretty much a year now actually on where we got to. So we just come off a sold out UK tour. We hit the top 20 in the charts. We're like, this is incredible. And secretly I'm miserable. That's like, so you're talking about this music supposed to make you happy, but I'm miserable. I'm thinking, right, why am I miserable? What is making me miserable? And what it was the fact of I was having to deal with like the business on the side. The business partner, the agreement was always I was the driver of that business, and he wasn't that kind of character. Do you know what I mean? Which is fair enough. And I knew that when I kind of went into it, but it became a lot harder, and it became a lot harder to manage. And to be honest, the love then weren't there. It was like the environment wasn't there. It wasn't the right personalities. You know what I mean? It's like being in a band. It has to be, you know, when you're super creative, you know, and you're kind of like, everything's got to be right, and that all starts from a vibe, and this person's got to be, you know, the right person to hang around with and stuff, and that person you've got to see them every day, man. I mean, if
exactly, yeah.
And when I was in the shop, I'd be just constantly thinking about my band, and I'd rather be with my band. They're my brothers. They're my future. They're where I wanna bleed with them. Like, you know, it's like I want to go through all this shit. And it's really worth it. So I give up the job. I sold my shares and backed out of that business. And then about a week later, COVID hit.
Oh, right. Was that? Oh, right. That was the timing, was it? Right.
Yeah, man. I'd like gone round to Shane's, bro. And I was like, I was so emotional. I was like, I've done it. I just had enough. You know, I'm a business owner, and I found that day I was, and this is no God's, it's probably one of the first times I've actually said the truth of it. Like where I found I went into my own shop that day and I did my normal routine. I got there before everyone else, cleaned the shop. Then I got my hands down a toilet, cleaning the toilet. And there's nothing wrong with that. Because if you've got to, you know, my business, I was proud to clean that toilet.
Of course,
like, you know?
Yeah.
And then I'm going out the front of the shop and then I'm cleaning the windows and a few things happening. I can't even remember. It was a bit of a blur. And I just remember going, I'm fucking done. I'm done. Because it was just, I was hearing the wrong things and I was thinking, I don't really want to be here. Life is short.
Yeah.
And the worst thing was about a week before that or 2 weeks before that, my wife had sat me down and said, I know you. I know you. Like, we've been together since we were 16.
Right.
She's like, I know you. Music is what makes you happy. They're the reason why I'm in a band, dude. Is my wife and my kids asked me to go back into a band and really go for it. When I got the record deal with the Crows, I was like, are we going to do this again? You know, look at what we built. And they were like, what we've built is nothing to do with the tattoo shop. That's love and that's sticking together as a support unit. That's just money. Don't worry about that. And I was like, yeah, I know that, but, you know, I've put a lot into it. But what would you rather, putting a lot into that or putting a lot into your music career? And I was like, oh. And you're almost then fighting with your own demons going, oh, am I doing the right thing? And my wife just said, for us and for the kids, just leave it all behind, like, and just focus on that. So that's what made that decision easy that day. I remember just stopping, cleaning the window. I'd had a couple of words, and then the next thing you know, I was just like, I'm done, and that's it. And I literally haven't looked back since. It's just been like, it's all amicable, and it's great. Cool. I'm still mates with my old business partner, but I'm much happier because now like what I said to you at the top of the show, I get to play with drums all day, or I get to do the Crowcast. I get to business meetings. You know, we've done so much, me and Shane now do during a pandemic, which I wouldn't have had that time, dude. I would have been having to balance, you know, other boys' lives who depend on a living and working out how to function a business through this stuff. I just wouldn't have had the time to do that. So
I imagine it would be really difficult.
Yeah, in a way, it's like the timing's bad, but mentally, to be honest, I was done a lot longer, and I was just kind of. You find yourself going through the motions, and you're faking it, like, do you know what I mean? So you're not really invested, which is mad to considering it's your own business.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I guess
Mad, isn't it?
you have chapters of your life, and that was one chapter, and chapters end, and you move on to another one. So
Yeah.
that's how you think about it, really. You did
Well,
well,
that's how
didn't you? You had a good, you did well. That business was,
it was brilliant. I mean,
successful. Yeah.
when I went into it, it was the polite way to put it is it was an old school tattoo parlor. That's the best way to put it. Flash all over the wall. Bit behind standards. I wish should have been moved on. And then I left it as a multi-award winning international tattoo studio.
Excellent. Yeah.
That the artist, I remember having the first initial business meeting with him, and I was saying, I want to do this and I want to go on the road. And I treated it like a band. See, in my head, I was like, I'm going to go on the road and we're going to. So everything was still a band, even though I'd given that life up. All my analogies, and I think if you spoke to any of the boys who work down there now, I'd always bring it back to being in a band. So you obviously can't let go, like, do you know what I mean? I think some of us are in it for life, dude.
I just can't really, like, I'm doing something temporary on the side, just kind of just as an insurance to make ends meet, like, because we don't know how long this is going to go on for. And it was just me going, well, maybe I should. But yeah, I just can't see myself never playing music ever again.
But I can get that, Dane. I mean, like I said to you earlier, I had the house at like 21. I'd left a job working in a school. I was like an LSA. So I was working in a school, autism, Asperger's, brilliant job. And I remember having the assembly back in the day where they were like, Ronnie's off now. And they're trying to explain it, love him, to all these special needs kids who didn't care. They just wanted to hurry up and get me out the way. Ronnie's off now. We're all going to wish him luck because he's going off to it with his record deal and Top of the Pops and all of that. Like, you know what I mean? And the reality was I did go and do that. But then my video drops on Kerrang, and I'm like, yes, I'm on Kerrang. And I think it landed on like MTV2 at the time. And I started to hit the magazines like Metal Hammers, Kerrangs, and Black Velvet and everything. But the reality is, as the school buses are passing, I'm fucking ducking down behind cars because I'm litter picking at the same point. So we've all been there where you're trying to, the perception of I'm a rock star, but you've got to put bread on the table for your family, like, or you've got to pay the bills. And the reality is, and the harsh thing is about this game is, we're paid less than an apprentice.
Oh yeah, so that's ridiculous. Like if you like work out hours put in, to what you actually kind of get. Obviously, it's different. Everyone's different. Different bands got different situations, but yeah, this when you work it out, all my mates earn more money than me. Basically, do you know what I mean? And that's just the way it is, and I just accept it. But I'm like, I don't think a lot of people from the outside realize, like, this you play these festivals, this you going on tour, and and that's only a small section of the year, if in grand scheme of things. But it's kind of like, I haven't got loads of money.
There's a pocket of Welsh musicians. I don't know if we were all like, if I say there's at least 40 or 50 people off the top of my head.
Yeah.
If we were all like in the 70s, 80s, dude, we'd be sitting there with mansions now.
Yeah, but possibly. Yeah, there was a lot more money around, and people used to buy records then. And unfortunately, just because when we were born and when we grew up doing this stupid time of MP3s and streaming, which has just messed everything up, unfortunately. And
but I think the boys, the Bullet Boys, had one of the last, from what I know. I mean, I don't want to talk about any of the other bands that we both know, their business dealings, but they were one of the last that I know who had a proper traditional good record deal. Yes, as I call it.
Money,
yeah. I mean, there have been a couple of other bands, my ears to the ground, where I know have landed some serious money. But obviously, there's a few that we both know that, you're touring the world on a shoestring.
Yeah.
It's like, it's quite crazy, like, but like we're very fortunate with the Crows because we started so we had this like camaraderie and friendship and brotherhood.
Brilliant.
But it was a business. So right from the start, it was, we set up a business account and then we started producing our own records. So the whole point was when we came to a record deal, if somebody give us a crap record deal, we could go, well, hang on, you're offering us that, but we've just made this on our own.
Yeah.
So that don't add up. So yeah, if you'd like to sign us, at least give us that back, everything we've put into it.
Yeah, please.
And then we can kind of evolve it to the next stage. So we had a really different, and I always encourage like any younger band doing that now, DIY as much as you can.
Yeah.
To the point then where you do need that record label or the contacts or that next level to take you where you do, but you have those foundations in place. And like, our merch store, we're always thinking of new merch. We're always thinking about to build our store. I mean, bloody Shane's house is like literally like, well, it's like a bloody clothes shop.
Well, you
in all
fulfill
fairness,
it.
He
fulfills it himself, is it, or you guys do it?
Dude, everything you see with the Crows is us.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's cool. That's cool.
so if we're having 400 or 500 orders in a week or whatever, that's 400 orders of packing stuff. The Shane is there.
It takes
and
forever.
porcelain in post offices. It does.
It does,
and that's something that we're trying to amend now, because as the band's got bigger, the orders are getting vast, which
is
his
great.
house, not only can't see his bloody rooms, but we're trying to hold on to that side of the band, like, do you know what I mean? The business sides that earn you money, like, so we've always had that kind of ethos early on of like putting everything back into the band. I genuinely believe we wouldn't have got as far, like with old bands that I were in. It was, the score when you're in younger bands, everyone wants a bit of pop, don't they? As in like, I'll give some money, I'll get a few beers, like, do you know what I mean? But with this band, when we started making, it's quite funny actually. I remember when we broke our first £100, we made £100 tonight. If I was older bands, they would have all been dealt out. That's 20 quid each. It's gone.
It's gone. Yeah.
With this band, it was like, well, if we put that £100 back in, we'll reorder more. Or what if we get a new T-shirt again? Because obviously those people have already bought that T-shirt. And that's how it kind of grew. I mean, even Lloyd's dad, Levin, was like building us these fucking portable wardrobes to take, honestly, like when we were rolling up, because you were one of the only ones we didn't get to play with. We've talked about this before we made a list of bands we wanted to play with.
Yeah, it's weird how we've
the
never...
Bastard Sons,
yeah,
we just always we were in different spots. And I said this to Neil not so long ago on the phone.
Yeah.
He said, how come we've never played together? And I was like, weirdly, you were on our list. And that's the God's honest truth, because we made a list of like all the bands that we need to play with. Not we got to headline. Not like when we were kids and it's like, you're headlining your first tour to 5 people a night.
Yeah.
You're headlining. It was like,
I done that.
our attitude was, yeah, bro. Well, our attitude was, let's go out, let's play as many shows as we can, and it don't matter about the money. And I know that sounds crazy. That was literally our plan. Just get out there, very old school, like Iron Maiden-esque and all the bands. Just play as many shows as you can. Because every show we were doing, something cool was happening after that. So it was almost that, well, something's bound to happen. Something's got to come from it. And that would be Shane's kind of guiding light of, well, look, if we wouldn't have done that tour wouldn't have come about. Then we'd get offered another tour. And I think we went to Ireland for like 50 quid or, and like literally cost us that one show more than... It was just incredible, dude. That's the only way I can explain it to you. Like, but if we wouldn't have done that, we wouldn't have like made connections with like HMV out there, and then they start again behind the band. So it all happens, doesn't it, man? It's like, it's bizarre you're explaining this to any listener or anything. It's like, well, why are they doing that? But you kind of got to get off your ass and really grind and make it work for you. Some bands are lucky; they play 5 shows in London and they're on tour with Motley Crue.
Run for the Song podcast.
Hi, I hope you're enjoying this episode of Drum for the Song. I just wanted to briefly interrupt the interview to tell you about my Patreon page, which is a place where you can support the podcast and, of course, support myself. You can sign up to one of the 3 tiers on there. There's one that's £3 a month, one that is £5 a month, and one that is £10 a month. There are loads and loads of exclusive benefits to signing up, including bonus episodes merch discounts, Christmas card for myself. If you sign up to the top tier, I'll send you a pair of my drumsticks. Loads of other stuff. So go check it out. It's patreon.com/drum for the song. And another way you could support me if you're interested, if you're not bothered about the Patreon thing, if you go to my official website, drumforthesong.com, you can send a donation via PayPal. So yeah, thanks for watching this and enjoy the rest of the show.
Drum for the Song podcast.
We weren't that fortunate. We knew we were up against this straight away, and this is just the honesty card of, and this is where I respect my boys in the band and I love them to bits. We knew we were up against it. There'd be doubters or people go, oh, they're not ready, or how can you be ready after that amount of time? Like, do you know what I mean? So, we were confident in the songs. Just all we had to do was craft the show and being in a band together, and then it was beautiful. Like, I've known Shane to play piano since we were children, and like the record label caught wind of, oh my God, Shane can play piano. They wanted him to bust that piano out from day one, and it was cool to strategize and hold it back. And then we did the Steelhouse Festival, and out came the piano in this moment, and that's what I'm calling it. It's a moment, and yet again that leveled the band up again. Oh my God, do you remember when Shane pulled the piano out for Blink of an Eye? If we would have done it like other people's way, it would have just been thrown away. And I've seen it with other bands, sadly. It's like, oh, this is a bit where he brings on the piano. There's nothing special about it. It's just that part. And that's what I was always trying to kind of convey in the background or orchestrate. I'm not trying to hold him back from doing that part. I think that part is awesome. I probably think it's more awesome than what you would. But there's a time for that to happen. And that's how we think as the Crows now. Like, so, you know, when you say about the sound, it's really hard to pinpoint the sound because we're already the new stuff that we've just wrote. It's different again, Dane. It's like, it's just different. It's different. It's a different sound. It's mad. It's like, it still sounds like the Crows. That's again, you can't, but it is different. It is slightly different again. So, but yet again, that's us enjoying the vibe or the song, or there's a reason for it, which kind of came in COVID and stuff. And we were just like, well, just go with it rather than fight it. Let's just fucking go with it. Like, do you know what I mean? And I think that's what was really cool about it. Like, you know, so.
Awesome. Well, so you obviously meant you kind of briefly mentioned it, that you got into the charts. So you're at your second album now, Point of No Return.
Yep.
Number 14 in the UK charts, right?
It was
absolutely
insane.
amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Insane.
So that was that was over this time last year, was it? You said?
You literally coming around to the anniversary now, February. Yeah, about just the beginning of February. We went in at number 3. Green Day were number 1. It charted midweek at number 6.
Wow.
But unfortunately, we were in with some mighty competition. And when I say this, I mean, you know, it was like your Harry Styles, your Stormzy's, your Lewis Capaldi, Billie Eilish had 2 records, or somebody had 2 records in there. Such a weird week because yet again, man, Neil was speaking to me that week, and I don't speak to him all the time, but he just gave me a text. He went, "Dude, you're going to be in the charts. You're going to be in the top 10 now." I was like, "How'd you know that?"
Yeah, he gets the
yeah, I love him. He's got his finger on the pulse.
Yeah.
But like, I was like, "Whoa, this is real. Like, this is."
Yeah.
And what I loved about it was, and you'll respect this, our release felt like an old school album release. You know, like back in the day, and I'm not saying it like I'm 80 years of age. Most of your rock fans will know this. If there was a certain record out in WH Smith's or Woolworths or whatever, you went down there, man, and you couldn't wait to grab it, and you opened it up and you looked through it, and you know what I mean? It was special.
Yeah, physical.
Ours was like a modern day one of that. It was really weird. Everyone was posting their pictures up on Facebook, and it was just so interactive, and so yeah, it just became that like virtual release day. With a sold out tour as well, because we've just come off the back of that.
That's great.
I mean, the venues, as we were like, Jesus Christ, as we were booking them, because I think we played with you, with your other project, this in December.
That's it, yeah.
And then when we went off with the tour, it was just kind of not orchestrated as well. Now I look back, because the venues were selling out, and like the manager at the time was like, I didn't expect this. And like, fair play to Shane, he was like, well, I did, because we've been playing for the last 2 years, and we played bigger rooms than that. So and then yet again, when I was speaking to Neil and other people, they were going, how many you pulled in that place? And I was going, I think we're well over like 300, 400 now. And he's going, whoa, you know, he
it's
was
big numbers, man.
So it was like starting to grow. And then like KK's, I think that went sold out, which was like, that's a big ass room. Like, and I think they, that was one of the highlights, or one of them, of the tour. But like Manchester could have gone up again. Scotland were furious. I love Scotland. They were like, we loved the Cat House, and I've played the Cat House, so have you, in the past. Yeah, I definitely did. Back in the day, it was kind of one of those gigs in the circuit, especially around 2007. But they were furious, because they were like, you could have sold the garage out. And that's how passionate the rock fans were. They were like, you shouldn't be here. You should be in a bigger room. So yeah, there was a whole, like, it was just whirlwinding, bro. And then we were on tour, and then it was obviously like a couple of things being changed. And all of a sudden we did the Live Nation deal, which was brilliant. Just on literally towards the end of the tour, we did the Live Nation deal, which then followed up to signing with Ross Warnock, with UTA. And leaving, we were with ITB at the time. But it just made sense. Ross came and watched the band. He just seemed to have the right vision, the experience. And yeah, bang, he was just like, this is where I want to take you. And literally the next phone call off Ross was, you're playing Download. And we've been wanting to do it for 20 years, bro. And he was like, yeah, you're playing Download. Oh, okay. And he was like, yeah, 3 times. Oh, wow. So we were like, so we did the VIP on the Thursday. We did the Dogtooth stage on the Friday, and then the boys did an acoustic set then in the Carlsborough stage on the Friday evening. And you're thinking, Jesus Christ, this can't get any better. And then we get another phone call, and it's like, do you want to play Download again? Yeah. It was like, well, what about the main stage? Yeah. But I was like, is that possible? We only just played it. It was like, yeah. Because
that is amazing. Yeah.
It just went so well, and like people couldn't get in the tent, dude. It was just like, it was overwhelming. It was just like, whoa, what's going on here? Like, you know, we went for press afterwards. They were like, we couldn't get in the tent. There was like four or 5 rows back outside the Dogtooths, and there's people like trying to walk around and they had cameras and stuff to show.
Crazy.
And they couldn't get in through any entrance. And I'm like, this is everything you want. As you know, as a kid, you're like, yes, this is it. Like, so then it's like main stage, and it was like, do you want to play Download? Yeah. And I'm thinking, I'd said to Shane, watching Def Leppard that year, I was like, right, the next thing on the bucket list, as I told you earlier, next thing on the bucket list, we got to play that main stage. That's the bucket list now.
Yeah.
And I said, 5-6 years time now, that main stage, that's where we're going. And Shane said, I think we'll do it sooner than that. I was like, all right. So, even Shane thought it was like 2-3 years.
Wow, yeah.
Never thought it'd be the year after.
Nah.
And not even opening it. We were like, what? We were like 4 or 5 bands under Iron Maiden. It was like, what the frick?
I know, yeah.
You're like, so yeah, man. That's why, like, we were like in a bubble of this is incredible. This is absolutely, you've got the strength of the tour, you've got the album charting, now the downloads queued up. Then there was other stuff leading up to it then, and it was like, oh my God, things are going great. And then bang, obviously, COVID. But we're all in it. And I know every band says that, but it is the truth, dude. I mean, psychologically, we never even thought we could tell people about the Download thing. Until they said we were doing Download TV in 2020 when they did the COVID special.
Right.
Otherwise, we thought it would just be a story I tell you off air now. As in like, oh, Dane, we were supposed to play Download main stage, but don't tell anyone. But no, it was, thank God, Andy Coppin and Sean and all of that were like, no, this band was supposed to be announced on the last. It was like literally the last announcement. Nobody knew, dude.
That's
I mean,
amazing.
we were on tour with we were on tour, and Mick Gaffney, who Stormbroken, he's their tour manager,
Oh, okay.
and I couldn't tell him afterwards because he was going, "Oh, I'd love to be working with you guys around that time," because we had other stuff planned. But he said, "Oh, I've got the download thing with Stormbroken here on the second stage," and obviously we knew at that point of like, we got main stage, and we couldn't say anything to anyone. We were told like strictly don't say nothing.
Yeah.
So then obviously when we start doing the old podcasting and that, we're there every week as we are now, like looking to this blankness and knowing there's people there and going, we were supposed to play under Iron Maiden. you can't say a thing. So thank God they came out with it and we could do the whole, like, we did a bit of a comedy spoof that Ching came up with, and then they played our video, and then the cat was out the bag again. And
brilliant.
Thankfully they signed us up for this year. I mean, I know it's rescheduled, but nobody knows, do they, dude? I mean, that's the horrible thing, you know. It's not that there's no spoilers or anything like that. It's just everything's unpredictable. And with the recent announcement of Glastonbury, who knows now what's happening, isn't it? We're in such unknown territory as humans, never mind musicians.
Yeah, totally.
Who bloody knows, like?
Yeah, but I guess if it doesn't happen, at least you'll probably be able to do it next year.
Possibly. I mean, it'd be, yeah.
You'd like to think I'm sure they'll try and keep the same lineup or whatever they booked.
I think so. I mean, you know, we've just booked a few, the same as you now, because I think you're doing Steelhouse because you've rolled it over.
Supposedly, yeah. We've got loads technically booked for this year, but
which is the same as us. We weren't supposed to be doing Steelhouse.
Right.
If we're talking like correct years, we were doing Download main stage. You were doing Steelhouse, say that year, for example.
Right.
And then the plan was to bring us the next year, and we would have been that far up the bill or whatever. Like, do you know what I mean?
Of course. Yeah.
But obviously, life didn't turn out as it was, so we've ended up on the same bill as you know. But yet, we're still on a download cycle. So it's if everything happened, it's going to be a great summer. I mean, we joke about that as a band. If we take out all the negativity and the thing, if it all went to normal tomorrow, what a summer! I mean, like we've got your downloads, Rambling Man, your Steelhouses, and gigs all around that, which you know normally in a band, especially when you start signing with like your Live Nations and you normally do them in separate cycles. So to have that crammed into one summer would just be like, wow, that's pretty incredible. Like, do you know what I mean? So
yeah, well, fingers crossed. There's still a bit of a hope that it might happen. I try and be positive, isn't it?
Yeah, man. Well, there's a backup for a backup, I suppose, isn't it? Like, do you know what I mean? That's the best way to look at it. Like,
yeah. So basically, last year would have been epic if it had continued on the way it was going. It looked, and hopefully that'll continue again. Like you said, you're doing the Crowcast, which is keeping the fans engaged. And that's just getting more popular and more popular by the look of it. You can get that now on all the podcast apps. Am I right?
Well, that wouldn't have happened.
No, it wouldn't have happened.
If everything didn't happen.
Yeah.
We always wanted to do it. Like I said to you at the top, I always wanted to look at something podcast wise. But realistically, you know, out of COVID came Crowcast. I think this week will be episode 45.
Amazing, yeah.
It's mad, dude. You've been on it with your brother. We've had Ruth Jones on from Gavin and Stacey.
Yeah, I've been meaning to watch that. I want to watch that. I'm a bit of a big Stella fan. I watched them all back in the day. Loved it.
And like Shane and myself are texting her now. It's just mad, just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Shane's got a great relationship with her. That's because of Crowcast. I've made mates now, like with like Johnny came on, who was like obviously in Svengali, and then you got Jimmy then, who's doing the Running Punks, and they people. So we've kept in touch with them, and then you've got your Marco Mendoza's, Doug Aldridge. The names have been it's incredible, bro. And it's like even the people we've got planned now for the next couple of months is like, it's insane, but it's a weird way of meeting them. That's the only thing that's kind of bizarre. I mean, it's the same with you. There's going to be guests that you've never met before.
Yeah, most of them I've never met. Yeah,
yeah, so we treat it as if we're backstage, or it's just like I said, if it wasn't for COVID, Crowcast wouldn't have happened. 2020 for us was still not a bad year because we still did the sold out tour. We did the charts, which was brilliant.
Yeah.
Crowcast was born. Then we did a Planet Rock stream, which was just yet again something that you wouldn't even put that on a bucket list because you wouldn't expect to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like playing to like War of the Worlds or something, like, do you know what I mean? Because
really?
you're in a dark room. We were in a dark room in Birmingham with all this production and stuff, and all you can see is little red lights. That's why I say the War of the Worlds kind of vibe. And then you're doing your big parts and the big crescendos, and there's no applause. It was just so bizarre. It was like a recording studio session, but yet you're doing a performance. It was just insane.
Yeah.
And then you fast forward then, and then we did the Rock Palast
in Germany, right?
Yeah, bro. I mean, that's, you know, how many bands, as you know, and we both know, I don't know how many, managed in a pandemic to get their asses over to Germany to perform to about 120 people who were in the room. They obviously couldn't sing along and stuff. They wore masks throughout.
Wow.
And then we did this TV vibe that, like, you know, has really got us hookups now in Germany. I know you guys have been playing there for years, but for us,
That's
it
great.
was like,
yeah.
It was a great introduction, and people were like, whoa, you know. And then it's brilliant because afterwards we were speaking to a lot of them, and Shane was like, oh, I just so wanted to just jump off stage, and I wanted to, and they were like, well, you would have done that. And he was like, yeah, I tend to jump off the stage, or I go and climb balconies, or and like they were like, oh my God. So they're looking forward to us returning back over there with a proper off the leash show, like, you know, rather than you have to like Lloyd had to turn and face me. It was because of the 2 meter rule out there. And
so they were really strict. That's good. It's good to know they were actually strict with it all.
Brilliant, well organized, very manic. I mean, Jesus Christ, we had to like get to London 48 hours before, have the old testing up in Harley Street,
right,
and then go in a hotel, which was bizarre because obviously you're staying in a hotel in a pandemic, so you're like, fucking hell, I haven't done this for ages. Have it up the nose and down the throat. It was hanging.
I haven't had a test, so I don't know. Everyone said it's not very pleasant, but I've never had one. But
it wasn't very pleasant. And then we all had that. We whistled back to Cardiff, rehearsed, bombed down to Gatwick, and like, as we'd bomb into Gatwick, we're all there waiting for the test results to come through before we've even got to Gatwick. And literally about half hour before we got to Gatwick, my phone pings, and it's like, you're negative. And I'm like, I got my test results. I'm all right. Yeah. And like Dave the guitarist is like, no. And I'm like, what the fuck? He wanted his first because he killed first and added up the nose. He was like, oh, I thought I'd have mine first. Like, and that kind of, you didn't realize then, like, especially like being the first one back and it said the results. Oh shit, this is intense now because there's not just the band of 5. We took Kev Papp over, who was helping us with the tech-in and stuff.
Right.
So you got 5 of the messages to come through, and if one of them comes through positive, that's it. You're fucked. And that's half hour before, dude. And fair play to the label for hooking all of that up, and obviously new management as well, because like I think literally we had new management about 4 days before, 5 days before.
Nice.
And his first job was like, can you help us? We're going to Germany.
Oh my God. So that's Ryan you're on about now?
That is Mr. Ryan Richards, which yet again, another thing in COVID.
Yeah.
Nothing bad with the old manager. We still got a good relationship with Roy. But we were constantly, like, if you imagine I'm that guy in the band and Shane, I'll phone you every day. What are we doing? And it's like, dude, there's a pandemic. It's like, yeah, I know that, but what are we doing? Well, there's not a lot I can do at the moment. Well, yeah, we could do this, we could do that, we could do this, we could do that. And like, I could tell maybe I was frying Roy's brain. And then he's got his own issues because he owns his own venue up in Birmingham, so he's got a lot to deal with there.
Right.
And in all fairness, with the family and all his stuff there, we just parted ways beautifully. You know, he's been with us for a long time. He believes in the band. He still believes in the band. But he did say it's maybe time either me and Shane needed to kind of manage the band for a while, which he suggested, until we come out of this shitstorm, and then maybe look for somebody to kind of take us on. But instantly when Roy left, the phone started ringing, as you can imagine. The phone started ringing, and then it was like, hey, is that such and such, can we set up a meeting? Yeah, wicked. And then a familiar text came through off Ryan. I was like, hey, look, that's Ryan.
It's happening, but
happening, but exactly. And we were joyed over that, to be honest, because the truth is Ryan's always kind of been there from the start. He's always helped. He's always got he does it with any Welsh band, any band actually, so it's not even a regional thing. You know, he's always got he'll always help you the best he can, like.
Definitely, yeah.
But his hands were tied the first time round because he was with Raw Power, and then obviously when he went with Future History, we had a great relationship with our manager, as in like personally, and Ryan never wanted to approach or ruin that. He said that. He was like, look, I just never wanted to kind of be that guy who poached you, or but when he did hear that Roy obviously departed, he gave the message. So we had a meeting with several people, and just Ryan seemed the natural fit. And his first job was, fuck, we're going to Germany, dude. You've got to help us get there. And he was like, right, okay, right. And in all fairness, since he's come in the band, it's just brilliant. It's just like, it's yet again, it's like having, I'm saying since he's come in the band, because it's like having that extra band member who he's been there, he's done it, he's worked with.
Definitely, yeah.
You had him on your podcast yet again, which I heard that.
Episode 2 and 3 for anyone who wants to go and check it out.
Yeah, and they're a brilliant listener. I heard it myself, and you know, we've known Ryan for years, and I know like his pedigree of like working under Rod and working with CJ, and then obviously, you know, prior to that being a manager and Funeral, and it was just like, it was gold to us. And to have his fingers on a modern approach as well, because like that's what we wanted. We wanted somebody who could teach us what has changed in the industry. What do like I need to be better at? And I'm not just talking drumming wise, like I'm so fixated on the business side. How can I be better towards the business side of it? And Shane's the same. And I think the other boys are starting to do that bit by bit now, where they're going, oh, wow, that's a cool way of doing it. So we all change it to Ryan's way. And we've slowly kind of tied up the loose ends and started progressing it in a new direction. So much that yet again, in a pandemic, we've been to the studio, we've recorded a new track. I can say all that to you now because I know by the time this goes out, it's not a spoiler. So put it on the store tomorrow.
Well, I won't be doing that. I won't be doing that.
Brand new tracks coming out called "Sick of Me."
Nice.
That's why I said it's like a different vibe, dude. It's like you know, for any drummers listening to this, it's not like my best drumming in the world. There's no it's all about the song.
Cool.
Drum for the song. It's all about the song. It's about the groove, little parts here and there, little pockets where they need to be, but it's all about the hook of the vocals and the feel of the song.
Nice.
But yeah, we managed to get into a studio, record. So we did that with Ramesh.
Oh, cool.
Well, yeah, because you know, we're gonna re-release yet again another exclusive for you by the time this comes out. We're gonna re-release Point of No Return because it's the anniversary.
Yeah, makes
because
sense.
you got to think we put that record out, gets in the 20, brilliant, but it hadn't gone to other countries and stuff. There were certain things which not a lot of people knew that. There was a lot of like issues at the time, and it only hit UK.
Right.
So this is just more of a deluxe edition, which we'll have. We've been in the studio several times now. Actually, we went and recorded a brand new track with Ramesh, and then we went in with Tim. Have you met Tim, who works for Ramesh? Very cool guy in Cardiff.
No,
does a lot with
so.
WWE.
Is it?
Yeah, and he does a lot with Junior.
Oh, right, okay.
A lot with Junior. So we just did some acoustic tracks with Tim. So yet again, there's just extra content on the record, making that, you know, more bang for your buck. And just something that we can celebrate the release of it rather than, oh fuck, do you remember that record that got buried in 2020? Like, do you know what I mean? So
Yeah. I know what you
and you
mean.
know,
That's what I feel about. I don't want that to happen to the record that the Bastard Sons just released, because
yeah.
obviously we haven't toured it, we haven't gigged it, we haven't done anything with it. I'm like, and it was a good album, so it's kind of like I don't want that to be that forgotten album that we never did a proper cycle for and stuff. So yeah,
Well,
it's a
I'd
good
look
idea.
into the same thing, man. I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
re-release or something.
I'm pretty sure like Todd might be thinking of it, or you might want to suggest it and say, you
Yeah,
know,
good
you spoke to
idea.
Ronnie and that. Well, it
Yeah,
is too, because it's such a shame. This is our art, like, you know, this is
yeah,
what we do. You spend so much time doing it. And like I said, we did have it fortunate. Both of us kind of put records out, but equally didn't have the shot that they could have potentially had. Like, for example, I know we had stuff following up on the Point of No Return, but none of that we'll never know how it kind of happened, because we're not in
it could
that
have spiraled and
transition.
spiraled, and you know,
Yeah,
you could have got to such an elevated stage potentially.
yeah,
But you never got the chance.
yeah.
So
And there's people discovering the record now, like I said earlier, you know, whether it be Ruth, bands who've been on the Crowcast,
yeah,
and they've gone, oh, I checked your record out today. They hadn't checked it out before. So there's still so many people, same as your record, where that audience hasn't heard it yet.
yeah,
And then we got to look at the facts of, like Ryan said, there was maybe not enough attention maybe to certain areas which could have been improved, as in like the digital market and stuff. And
yeah.
that's all above my pay grade, like we were
Well,
talking
that's
earlier on in the
Spotify
show.
stuff. That's a massive thing, isn't it, nowadays? The Spotify
Trying to learn it,
Spotify
dude.
advertising. Nah, I haven't got a clue. Playlists and all
I haven't
that.
got a clue, but that's why we got a Ryan Richards, because
Yeah,
that's his job now to kind of go, well, that's what they were, and this is what they need to be, and this is how I need to grow them. And that's the beautiful thing about having somebody on and it's great for him as well, because it couldn't have come at a better time, because he's been on board for all of that happening. So he hasn't had to, like, I don't know, like almost jump on somebody else's work. He's managed to now, like, go, well, I can make this as part of my work, you know, I can actually put something into this and kind of get it to where it needs to go, like, you know. So
yeah,
that's the beautiful thing about it. So it's working really well with Ryan, and like I said, obviously it's got the football in common with him, and
yeah.
the wrestling
And
as
the
well. So what
wrestling.
more can you want from your manager?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, I know you're into your wrestling, and like it's one of the things that I've looked forward to, you know, once a month or every week, is catching up with it a little bit on my day off. Like, what kind of stuff have you been watching for any other listeners that are into the wrestling? You mainly WWE, or
Well,
do you watch it all? And
AEW
yeah,
and WWE.
yeah,
So it's I gotta admit, I've become a little bit lazy with the Monday Night Raw thing. So I'll tend to listen to a podcast to catch up on that. Only because, like, I don't know, for the last couple of months I haven't really had the story right in. This kind
mm,
of, you know, yet again, for anyone watching or listening to this, I know it's fake, okay?
yeah.
But
So
it's,
do I.
for me, yeah. Just before they go on,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
I
I
was
know.
enjoying that before they started thinking that wrestling's real, like,
I
you know.
know.
But there is an art of telling a story.
Yeah,
I'm invested in that. I've been invested in that since I was a kid. I found there was a big period of life where I was a closet wrestling fan.
yeah,
You
because
almost didn't want to say,
yeah, it's kind of a little bit embarrassing at some point. Or in some
yeah,
circles, you know, you're a grown man watching wrestling. But then I kind of realized so many other people are into it. And when I noticed I did that Jericho cruise thing, and like everyone was like my age. So I'm like, I'm obviously not alone in this. And that kind of what spurred me
no,
to get back into it, because I didn't really. There was a few years where I hadn't really, apart from watching WrestleMania or maybe Royal Rumble, I hadn't really kept up with it. But doing that cruise got me straight back into it, and like I watch the AEW Dynamite every week, and I try and watch the
yeah.
WWE pay-per-views. I can't keep up with the Raw and SmackDown thing. It's too. I haven't got enough time for that. But they
You're
sum it up
certainly
well,
not
don't they?
alone.
Yeah, they sum
Yeah,
it up
you
well on the
said,
pay-per-view. So any storylines you need to know, they make you watch a 5-minute video before the match. It tells you it all. So that'll do for me. That'll do for me. And they're really well made. So
Yeah, they are really. That's something that they've always managed to do, and they still do it like supreme. In all fairness,
Yeah, the production
but
value
yeah,
is amazing.
you're not alone. There are many of us out there. But yeah, man, and it's really relevant to the topic as well, because there was a lot of time like I was watching wrestling, like I said, closet fan, and then I remember one day Ryan was having a tattoo, and he was having like the WWF logo
Oh, was he?
done. And I was like, oh, cool, dude. I was like, oh, you like wrestling, do you? And he was like, yeah. And it was that whole like, cool, do you still watch it?
How
You
much?
know what I mean?
How
And
much do
you're
you
like,
like it?
yeah, how much do you like the wrestling? And then I found that he liked it. So it was almost like it was a coming out of like geekness of going, yes, excellent, I love wrestling. And then it was like fucking excitement then of like telling him all about how much I love wrestling. And
Yeah.
then he was telling me how he went to WrestleMania with Funeral and he did, I was like, no way. And it was just like, so ever since then, I've kind of broken the webs of like, it's uncool. And
Yeah,
if
I agree.
anything now,
Yeah.
there's more rock bands and metalers who love wrestling, like you said, Dane.
Yeah.
Which the wrestlers find is incredible, like because they're obviously fans of rock stars, for example,
Of course,
or like
yeah.
rockers. So then when they get these, dudes coming up, and I'm like with your wrestling t-shirt on, which I have many,
Yeah.
they're a bit taken back by that, going, oh my god, like I love his band, and so there's a mutual thing. But yeah, I'm too invested where I drive my wife insane.
Okay.
So I listen when I'm doing any admin work, whether it be for the band. I've always got a wrestling podcast on. So I never miss a beat, really. It's very rare. Even when I went on holiday, I promised the wife not to put the phone on because it's family time.
Yeah.
But what I did was like every Tuesday morning, I quickly put my phone on, download Monday Night Raw podcast, like the one I listen to, which is Wrestling Inc. in America.
Right.
And then quickly download that with like maybe a bit of Jericho or something else. And then like literally then I just sit there and catch up on it audio. Like we were talking about, it just seems to be, which is really cool because like me and you now breaking down a whole episode of Raw.
Yeah. I'd love to do it actually.
Yeah,
it could be good fun.
These guys do it. It's amazing, dude. It's like I'm so invested in it. If anything, if they miss a week, I'm like, no, which they never hardly do. But because I count on that on the road. Because I'm like, that's why I'm so invested in podcasts as well. Because I'm like, that's where I get my wrestling news from. That's where I get all the rundowns and the breakdowns of the matches.
Yeah.
And then also you get the behind the scenes goss of like what was like, I don't know, a real injury or a certain spot gone wrong.
Because sometimes you don't know if it's real or like, things like that. Even though wrestling is fake, sometimes they do really hurt themselves, or sometimes they pretend they really hurt themselves. And and the whole point is sometimes you don't know if it's real or not, and that's what's good about it, because they make it really believable.
A good wrestling show, and this is from a fan, and I think there's many people out there who will say the same, who are marks and stuff, is like, for me, the art of wrestling is if I am sitting there in my 30s going, oh my God, or I'm like really invested in a storyline.
Yeah.
It's because they've blurred that reality. That they've managed to blur that, like what is real, what isn't real.
That's true. Yeah.
And and I love that. If they can make you do that with a good storyline and then a really cool match, a really good put together match, that you forget, it takes you out of the vibe of anything else. You're just kind of invested in that. To me, that's winning. And like Roman Reigns is doing that for me at the moment. I gotta admit, as a WWE character, I love this new transition into the heel.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's very dark. It's very like the tone that he speaks and stuff. I love that. Paul Heyman being like, queued up with him.
Yeah.
But then if you go to your AEW and stuff like that, I really like a lot that's going on there. There's a lot of it kind of like, I know it's come from the independents that I don't get. Because I have been to some independent shows, thankfully, thanks to friends who took me.
Cool.
Some of it I find a bit weird because I haven't gone to enough. So I find it a bit like bubblegum or a bit over the top, or like they're dressing up as gamers and stuff. And I'm like, I don't get why are they doing that? If his character is he's a policeman, he's a policeman. But like, you know what I mean? It's just like, I don't know. You tell I'm fucking mad for it, dude.
Yeah, man. No, it's good. It's just something I knew that you had in common with me, but like, it sounds like you. I'll have to check out some of the podcasts. I do listen to the Jericho one, but it's because
Wrestling Inc.
he
is
talks
brilliant.
Wrestling Inc.
Wrestling
Okay.
Wrestling Inc. because it's been going for years, and it's got a guy on there called Matt Morgan, which he used to be the Blueprint in TNA. He was like this 6 foot. He was in WWE back in the day, but no one
Okay.
really remembers him. He
Right.
had a bit of a stutter. One of his characters was so he was never like a main kind of character or like a main event star.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in TNA, and when I call it TNA, like the good years of TNA, when it was like when Hogan came back and it was the whole like Ric Flair, Hogan, Kurt Angle.
Awesome. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
had they had a massive AJ Styles, Beer Money. There was like a really cool roster there in TNA at one point, and they were kind of starting to make waves towards WWE. The ratings were up and stuff, and there was a
Yeah.
real hardcore fan base supporting TNA at that point. Matt Morgan was on there, and he kind of breaks down Raw and SmackDown and AEW on certain days. And like I said, especially when you're in a band, you're in a van, it's just cool to slam them in your ears.
So now,
Jericho isn't really a breakdown of wrestling. It's more
No.
of like what yourself. And then you've got other cool ones. Then I listen to, whether it be Wade Keller or I'm as you can tell, I'm like way over the top with it. Like my wife is just like, oh, none of the bloody wrestling podcast.
yeah,
Like,
my wife's not into it. She doesn't really understand why I like it. But so I kind of tend to watch it when she's not about, or when she's at work. She works from home at the moment, so like she's on the top floor, and I'll try and watch it as quickly as I can. But yeah, but yeah, I don't think I don't know. She came to one of the Cardiff shows with me, and she kind of half enjoyed it. But I think she said, I don't think I'd come again, which is a shame, because it'd be nice to enjoy it with her. But like my brother, like Tyler's into it. Todd not so much, but Tyler, my brother's into it, and I got a few other mates who are big into it. So one of my life goals is to like go to WrestleMania, and I think I want to make that happen. I might even just make it happen the next time that I'm
You
not on
can
tour.
make it happen, dude. I mean,
Yeah.
Ryan's been nagging me. He was trying to take me a couple of years ago. I can't remember the one. He said, oh, you should come. And that was before he was like managing the band or anything. That's what I mean. We've been kind of mates. We were wrestling buddies for years. He just pinged me over. If it wasn't for Ryan, I wouldn't have known about like New Japan or anything like that. Or even Ryan was kind of like, dude, are you checking out this AEW stuff? And she always kept me like interested in that vibe. But yeah, me and him have been like plotting now, because obviously this year's WrestleMania is no go. The next one's in Texas, and then the one after that's in LA. So but I'd love to go to Texas, and I would love to go to LA, but I also want to go to a Royal Rumble. That's on my bucket list.
That would be cool. Yeah, that would be
Oh
awesome.
man, it's just like they're sick, and it's just the atmosphere of it. And it's like my kids were always invested into wrestling, but now they're teenagers. They've fallen in love with other stuff, like whether it be football, or like my other boy's a gamer. So he's like flat out gaming. My other boy's really athletic, so he's cool. Flat out into that. My daughter's moved out. She still shows some interest in wrestling. It's nice now and again. We do go to Cardiff, and we go as a family, and we'll watch it live.
That's good,
because it's just something I've always done for them. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, whether my boys will ever admit it, they were both like Cena. They were both Cena marks. Like, they'd have all the headbands and the t-shirts, and they'd be there, never give up and all of that, while I was there going, if you smell.
Different generations, like slightly, because like it was when Cena was the massive star. That was when I'd kind of gone off it a bit. Like, I knew who he was. That's when I was like, wrestling's not cool. I can't watch wrestling. So I literally didn't watch it for like, I don't know, it might have been close to 10 years or something like that. A long time. And then I kind of did the Jericho cruise. I was like, this is bloody brilliant. And like, athletically, it's gone up a notch now, isn't it, compared to back then? And it's like, we had your Hardy Boys, which were incredible and still are, but like, that was kind of like, I was into all that stuff. And now, like, some of the tag matches you watch, all the flips, and it's incredible. It's amazing. That's what I like. And like you said, the storytelling of it all. But I quite like the physical.
Well, you like all the high spots
athletic
and
stuff.
stuff.
Yeah,
now
I'm
it's-
into that.
Now it's just like loads of spots.
It's a bit overkill sometimes, and maybe less
It is.
realistic sometimes with the false finishes and
Yeah.
all that.
That's why I'd like a bit of both. I mean,
Yeah,
I always go back the days where like Jake the Snake, if he put you in a DDT, you wouldn't be kicking out of that.
Yeah,
Or if you did, there'd be some serious like pops in the crowd. Like, do you know what I mean? It'd just be like, oh my God, Hogan kicked out of a DDT. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it would have been such a big thing to kick out of a power move, your finisher. Like, do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's the only thing I wish they would kind of bring back slightly.
Yeah.
AEW, I do love AEW. I think like the Young Bucks are phenomenal, and Kenny, he's just, well, it's Kenny Omega, he's brilliant.
Yeah. He's amazing.
But I do find it can be a bit over the top sometimes, where I'm like, Jesus Christ, as he
Just
literally
end the match.
yeah, as he literally got to pull out a weapon like and kill him.
Yeah.
Because it's just a bit over the top otherwise, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially like some of the moves, man, are just so like finisher anyway. I think that's just what added the drama where I miss, like, you know,
Yeah.
like an Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels. It don't even have to go back to the 90s or whatever. It's more like the Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels when like Shawn Michaels put his career on the line. That match, man, you were on the edge of your seat, your hands were sweating because you were like, oh, I thought that was it then. I thought Shawn Michaels was gone.
Yeah.
And then it's the drama of, oh my God, he didn't kick out. That's it. That's his career gone. And some of that kind of gets lost now because it's almost like, oh, he's just going to jump off a 20-foot cage. He's going to land on his head. Where in real life, if I did that, you go to hospital. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where now he gets back up, pound. All right, let's give him another 4 finishes. And then finally, he just has like a feeble clothesline and that's it. That's the match over. And it's like, oh, I don't know. They kind of over kind of reach a crescendo. That's the best way. It's almost like the story's there, the match is brilliant, it's brewing, and that should be it. And they just go that little bit too far where you're like, oh, but there's still some really cool stuff. I mean, last year I popped for like, I think Edge came running out in the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
And I think that's the first year I run around my living room. I was just like,
how old are you?
You know, and I don't care about saying that because it's like whatever gets you off. And like for me, wrestling is just like it's my away from life, my soap opera,
it replaces that for me. I don't watch soap operas, but I do watch wrestling, and I don't think there's that much difference apart from they're all amazing athletes and
exactly that. And the characters, or if they make you laugh, if they make you whatever, like you're angry or I hate him, even to say you hate one of them, you're invested.
And that's the whole point.
Yeah,
they want you to hate them. That's the whole bloody point of it.
Yeah,
and that's half the skill involved. But anyway, enough about wrestling because I know not all my listeners are going to be into it. But I'm glad we had this conversation. And as Chris Jericho would say, as we start to wind down now, he says that on every episode. I noticed. Let's talk a little bit about what drum gear you're using because I know you got to deal with Tama.
Yes.
And I'm not 100% sure on the rest. Zildjian cymbals, is that right?
No. I have got Zildjian cymbals, but I'm still I'm like
that's
not
what you
pinned
use.
down.
Right, but that's what you use.
I use Zildjian cymbals. So I got that Vapor there now is my main kit. That's for touring or for studio as well. That's the Tama Star Classic Maple.
Lovely.
So it's a beautiful kit. 10, 12, 13, 16, 18. The reason why I do that is like what I said earlier, so I can have multiple setups. So if I want to kind of make it more grungy, I can do that, like 13 tom in front, 16 and an 18 floor tom if I need to, or as I've got set up in the background for those who are watching and not listening.
That's true.
I've just kind of put a 10 there. Or sometimes I might put a 10 or 12 and just play with the 16. So it's just kind of, like I said, I think it just makes you more versatile. I watched Matt from Periphery do a drum clinic, and that was one of the things I took home from that drum clinic. It was in Drum Depot, and he basically turned around and said, like, don't be afraid to change your setup because you can just become too complacent on where your hands go.
No, that's true,
And I'm very much I just kind of like to mix it up. And what'll happen is if you put something in its place, that's a different sound, a different texture, a different tone. So straight away, that's a different fill. That's a different go-to. Like, do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
so that's kind of the main shells. 22 kick. I used to play a 24, but I find like I don't know if you've done it yourself. I geared up and I went to a 24. But I didn't realize until I was kit sharing on the road and I went back to a 22, my better performances were on a 22.
Yeah. I
Even
think,
even a 20 in all fairness, because yet again, I'm not a tall drummer. I feel like if I'm planting that bass drum and I'm over the top of it,
yeah.
I just seem to have a lot more kind of control, especially with the pedal I've got as well, because I've got a Tama Speed Cobra.
All right. Yeah.
It's beautiful, dude, and it's like a longboard.
I know the one. Yeah.
So the way that my foot kind of shuffles back and forth is perfect to play off, like, you know. And then the snare drum is a SLP, which got given to me by Tama.
Oh, lovely.
So 13
All right.
by 7.
Cool.
Very different. So prior to that, I used to like my go-to was a 14 by 8. So I'm very much of the Dave Grohl school of deep snares.
Yeah.
So that's my, like, I think, like, for me personally, I love deep snares.
I love one as well. Yeah.
But when I asked Ian when I was up in Tama, he said, "Oh, what snare do you use?" And I told him what I used at the time. Obviously, it was off-brand, which I think actually it was a Gretsch. I said, "Oh, I'd like a 14 by 8," and he was like, "Oh, why don't you try this?" So we tried this little pocket rocket, as I call it, which when I hook up with you next, I'll bring it so you can have a.
Oh,
It's
cool.
so cool, dude. It's so cool, like the way I tune it as well. So it's got like that mid-range, but it's the 13 by 7, so it's just got that, I don't know, that for me, like I said, growing up in a grunge era and stuff with your Pearl Jams and it's just got that Soundgarden vibe of you just know when it kicks in with the bass drum. It's perfect. Like cymbals, 14-inch A customs.
Nice.
I'm starting to switch up cymbals now because you're never too old to learn. So I normally like my cymbals really big. So I'll always have like an 18 or a 19 on the left, whether that be a dark thin crash Zildjian or an 18 maybe a custom. So it's got that nice thin sheen to it.
Yeah.
But then maybe I might have like a 16 just off it on the left hand side sometimes. And then my main crash, my crash ride, whatever your main crash would normally then be around a 20-inch.
Yeah. It's kind of
So
similar to what I use. Yeah.
yeah, about a 20-inch. It used to be a 20-inch A custom, but because I haven't got the deal with Zildjian, and obviously I was like, I spoke to Brett and like he was going, dude, you're destroying your cymbals. He put me on a Zildjian Sweet Ride.
Oh yeah, I used to have one of them. Really good.
Yes, so it crash rides, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. That's why I had it, yeah.
Right. Well, I obviously that was like strange territory for me. So that's become so it's a 21.
21-inch Sweet Ride, yeah. I used to use that in straight lines and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and
great
it
cymbal.
cuts through. It's nice, and you got the texture there.
Yeah.
And then I use a 22K ride.
Cool.
Beautiful. I think a lot of drummers are starting to use that ride now as well, especially Zildjian players. The tone off like the bell is stunning for me. And then I fluctuate between a Oriental. I've got a Oriental Crash. China Crash.
Yeah.
But that's about a 20-inch. And I also like an EFX as well. I don't know if you've tried them.
I used to have one of them, but it didn't last very long, unfortunately.
Yet again, they do that like spider thing, where they have little cracks and you're like, oh, and then it frizzles rather than. But the reason why I love that cymbal, I mean, yet again, for any drummer listening or watching, is like I just found that they had a texture. They weren't a China. And
Yeah,
they
it
weren't
was.
harsh.
It was that's what drew me to them. I think I watched Taylor Hawkins use one first.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
I want one of them,
yeah.
and I bought one, and it was cool. I used it. I think at the time I used it instead of a China, but then in my setup at the time I was using Zildjian A Customs medium crashes and stuff. It was so much more quieter than the rest of the cymbals. So it depends what you're using it with. And whereas I was used to having that big loud China, it kind of like, it was like, it was like, it didn't give me the effect I kind of wanted it to, but I guess it's maybe good to kind of ride on and stuff like that. But yeah, cool in between crash and China cymbal. But I think it was just quite, because I was using the heavier ranges of the A Custom ranges, it was just quieter than all them, and I didn't expect it to be. I thought it would blend a bit better. But I still got it. It's just got about 5 cracks in it somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, if I had an endorsement with them tomorrow, I would want one, but I would probably choose to use it studio, or certain, like, it would have to be like maybe TV work and stuff, because I understand what you're saying. But there, I found, for example, we used to have an old song. It's not on any record at the moment. It was on like an original release that we did called One of These Nights. But there was a really cool break, very Foo Fighter-y kind of rock and roll. And I just remember like when I did it, that would be my go-to, that EFX. It would be that and I'd be like riding off it, and I broke two. And it would only be that bloody song, because it just felt like the energy was there in the middle 8 of that song, and I'd always go to the EFX, and I knew like I can't keep doing it. So I think I haven't got it set up actually on the kit at the moment. I think the one I've got, but there is even broken of it. Which yet again I decided, I'm not going to replace it. And then I went to the Oriental, which I think the guys at Drum Depot suggested.
Cool.
And it seems perfect. It adds that texture. But it's what I said to you early on, really. What I've started doing with the cymbals, because we've done a lot of TV work lately, as in like the streaming, and I'm starting to kind of downgrade like the sizing of the cymbals, and especially recording. Like,
that's definitely a good technique for recording. Smaller.
Didn't know that, Dane.
My brother prefers smaller cymbals.
Thought you just turn up with your cymbals and rock and roll,
Well,
innit?
You don't always have the luxury, do you, to choose if you just use what you got normally. But like, but he always tries to get me to put the smaller ones on if possible.
And the thing is, you think at first, I don't know about this now. I don't want them sounding like splashes and stuff like that. But then when you go behind the desk and they've put all the compression, they've done everything they need to do, they sound like an 18 or a 20 anyway.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
What I mean? So
like, make them sound like that.
That taught me that, because yet again, thanks to Moose, in all fairness, when I went into record Point of No Return with Clancy, it was Colin Richardson and Andy Sneap. Yet again, Moose had given me like multiple snare drums to help get the tones, and then the cymbals were critical, because like I remember Colin Richardson, obviously he's recorded everyone from Slipknot to bloody Machine Head.
Wow.
So he's got like quite a array of like bands.
Yeah.
And like soon as I got my cymbals out, he was like, "Have you got anything smaller?" And I was just like, why? And then thank God, like Moose had given me this cymbal bag of like spare stuff, and there was like 14s and 16s and stuff in there.
Nice.
And I was like, oh well, Moose has given me these, and I'm thinking he's going to kind of bum them straight off, and he was like, nope. He was like, that's amazing. And then Andy Sneap went into his collection, because it's like, if you ever go to Andy Sneap's studio, it's phenomenal. It's like, wow, because it's not like a on the market jobby, as in like you kind of either go there through a mutual friend, or you get invited there, and he's just got so much gear, like even like Megadeth's old drum kit, and obviously at the time he was guitaring with Judas Priest, so Travis's setup would be like, it'd just be there, like, do you know what I mean? It'd just be like, so you'd be like, whoa, this is incredible. It's like for me and you as drummers, like, so he was like mixing all the drums to get that perfect drum sound, whether it be a DW that was on the road with whoever, it didn't matter who it was with. It was the skins that were on there, and how it was blending with the other drums, and equally as important with the cymbals, because he he brought out 2 identical 16-inch A customs, yet when you put them under the right microphone, they sounded completely different. It was mad. That
Yeah.
blew my mind. That did. I was just like, whoa,
I know
that's
that's one thing. Like, I'm not sure if I talked about it before, because I remember, like, when I was using Zildjian, I used Zildjian for a few years, and I did really love them. I loved how they sounded, and then I broke one, and I bought I bought the same one again, brand new, same model, and as soon as I put it on a kit, I was like, that don't sound like my old one. Sounds completely different. And that's when, and then since then I've learned a lot of people said they're not as consistent. Which maybe that's what most brands are like, but yeah, kind of like it didn't put me off, but like I've always wanted to use Paistion, and now that's what I use now. And but one of the things they before they put cymbals out to market, they have like a man who tests them for consistency, and if one doesn't sound the same, it goes back and they melt it down and start again. So that's one thing they kind of like, that's one of their selling points, is that if you're going to buy a replacement cymbal, it's going to sound 99% exactly like your old one, basically. And that's what I've learned. Yeah. I think I watched it on like some documentary, like the making of Paiste cymbals, and it's really cool because when you're used to hearing that particular tone for like a year or 6 months until you break it, and then you want that again and you can't find that again, that's really frustrating. You just spend 300 quid on a new crash cymbal, and then thinking it's going to be the same, and it's not the same. But yeah, so from a recording point of view, yeah, I can imagine you have 2 cymbals of the same model, they're not going to be the same. But hopefully with Paiste, apparently they are. Yeah. So that's a good point.
I didn't know that, and yet again, like I've always been like my dad used Paiste, but back in the day, he had like proper vintage Paiste cymbals, like, do you know what I mean? And yeah, it was proper old school, and I broke them all, obviously, as you do. Like, I'd be like pinching them out of his like drum room. I'd be like, oh, wicked, and then obviously I take it to practice and go, oh shit, I've split it. So it was like,
if they were like jazzy,
I went down as.
I was going to say, if they were like his jazzy cymbals,
very small.
They're not meant to be walloped, are they?
Well, he used 7As, dude. You know, like very thin like pencils, like almost.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just like, so you know, I've been watching yourself playing those, and there's a drummer which I've got quite friendly with, Adam Breeze, which I think is on your brand as well.
Oh, cool.
He plays with a band called Rave and I, and he does a lot of session stuff as well, I think. But
I know the band.
I just noticed, like, obviously. Yeah, and when I've heard your sound and his as well, it's something that maybe I might have to look at, but it's just Zildjian. It's just something that I don't know. I've always spent my money on Zildjian.
Well, yeah.
And like, there was a time in 2008, I got endorsed with Istanbul and Alchemy.
Okay. Yeah. I never used those.
But yet again, nothing against the brand, and there's no like there's no bad thing or anything. They looked after me, great deal I had with them when I was doing the misconduct thing, but it was kind of, it wasn't what I wanted to play. And I went for a cymbal that, number one, the deal was fantastic and they were looking after me, but I went over the deal rather than the sound. And for me now, unless I sat there with like your brand now all on my kit, maybe I might be happy and go, oh my God, why haven't I ever used these before? The problem is that's a lot of money to invest in a completely new brand. So, you know, unless, I don't know, your dude turned around and said, oh, I'll send him a load of cymbals if he loves them, then obviously I can charge him a fortune. But that's the hardest thing. We don't get that opportunity. And much as I love going to Drum Depot, you never really have that. You need to go on your own, don't you? You know my vibe, but maybe or maybe you're different. I know what you mean. When you're in a shop and they go, oh, just try it. You always go, yeah, that's cool. And you either buy it just because you just want to get out of there, or you go, oh, I'll come back, and you just don't want to like overplay it, or if they put it on a drum kit, especially being in a drum shop, you're like, oh no.
I know I've
got a drum solo now.
Yeah, I've never been confident in those situations, and I guess it's a bit weird. Like, even when I went into Drum Depot, I think it was last year or year before, wanted to buy my old man an electric drum kit for Christmas. Me and the boys, like, and I was like, trying a few out, and I just felt, and like, Jiffy there, he's amazing. Do you know
Yeah.
Jiffy?
Oh,
He's
he's a
he's
brilliant
incredible.
drummer.
And I was
Brilliant
like,
drummer.
and he was like, he hooked me up, and I was like, I don't really want to play in front of him. Like, I was just embarrassed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I felt like that. Like, it's weird. I'm just like,
Well,
I'm
here's
not confident in my own ability, but like,
neither have I, dude. And like two totally different scenarios by you. I know you and I feel comfortable around you. But if you were Dane that work now for Brett and Mark down in Drum Depot, and I was like, hey, Dane, I'm going to pop down and I want to look at a X, Y, Z, I would still have that feeling, even though I feel comfortable around you.
yeah,
It's something about, and I can't explain it. And I love the boys. I love the depot. And they're so welcoming and everything.
Yeah.
But I always feel like I would have to like show you my abilities. Do you know what I
know.
mean? It's like, I don't know what it is, dude. I climb up there. I go like a real shit drummer, as in, I don't know. I'm starting to choke the sticks and I'm overthinking everything I would do.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing. Like,
It is weird. Yeah. It's hard to describe.
but if you were on tour now and you were like, hey, Ronnie's going to fly out or whatever, and if you're in sound check and you were like, check out my new kit, I'd have no problem like jumping on your kit and having a little tinkle of it and like hanging out with you and that whole buddy thing. But it's just weird. You put the same bloody drum kit, the same person in a drum shop, and I literally feel I'm not worthy. Is Wayne's World? It's like, I'm not worthy.
Yeah. No, it is. Well, you just know everyone works there as a drummer, and then presumably most of the customers who are in there are drummers. And if someone's going to be bashing on a kit, they're going to at least notice, and they're probably going to make some judgment in their head. And and I guess deep down, I know generally if you work in a drum shop, you're probably shit hot. More often than not, maybe not necessarily all the time, but like, but generally, I completely know how you feel, and just like, I wouldn't feel confident trying a cymbal out like properly, like the way I'd like to hit the cymbal, because I'm like, I haven't bought it yet. It's going to mark. Like I've always been a bit weird with that with cymbals. I'm like,
well, I think that's like a similarity between our personalities, because I almost feel like it's like if you lent me a cymbal.
Oh yeah, I know.
I would never be able to play that cymbal
the way
like
you want
I
to
would
play
it.
Yeah,
because I'd be like, oh shit, this is Dane's stuff.
And
if I break her, it's a respect, isn't it? It's
a respect.
It's respect.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of youngsters now. We're just getting a kit and go fuck them.
Yeah. Yeah. They're people like that. But I guess we've grown up. We kind of respect our own gear and realize how much it costs. And like, I've broken countless cymbals over the years. I've had to replace countless cymbals over the years, and you kind of appreciate how much money they are. And if you're someone else, like, people have lent me cymbals for studio work back in the day, and I've always felt, I just like, what if I crack it? Like, even if it's just a studio session or whatever, it might crack. It's quite possible. And then I'm 300 quid down. Just, even though I could have used my own, but like, someone wanted me to use these, or these are better than mine, and blah, 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 blah. But like, so like now, like, I'm a big boy now. I've got my own stuff, and I like to use my own stuff when possible, because I'm responsible for it. And if it breaks, it breaks. It's no one else's fault. And they only have they have a lifetime at some point. Certain things only last as many times as you're going to hit it, or as many drops on the floor, or temperature's a big thing. So like, touring is awful for gear, stuff like that.
It's a nightmare, man, especially like, whether your gear's in a splitter or a truck or whatever. It's just like,
it's awful.
If you're touring in the winter, that's a nightmare as well. Especially if you're in a rush, you get to a venue, I know you score, you set up the kit, you're sweating, the cymbals have got condensation on them because it's still cold, and then you've got to do a sound check, so you're hitting freezing cold metal, like, do you know what I mean? So but yeah, drumsticks as well, Dane.
You've got new ones, haven't you?
Well, not a new brand,
right?
I have been hooked up. I know you have a different company. I've been hooked up with London Drumstick Company.
All right, yeah.
Now, fair play to Will and the guys there. I was always on a 5A.
They're light
and then
for you.
they are light. And then it's like, what I noticed through COVID, watching so many drum videos and speaking to other people about it, a few people like Andy James was on talking about plectrums and stuff on the Crowcast, and he was saying how he's changed plectrums because it's changed the way he plays and stuff. And then I thought, there's so many drummers, including like my best mate Shed. He's a great drummer, and he was like, "Why do you play 5/8s?" And he's tech for me as he goes, "Why do you play 5/8s?" And I'm like, "I don't know. They just feel like they're loose and everything." He's like, "You should try a 5B." So there's not much in it. He said, but the weight and stuff will be a lot better for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is the difference with these, really. I mean, they still got like my signature with I've got the little Welsh flag on
Yeah,
it.
I love that. That's brilliant.
Well, that for any drummer would understand this. This is why this podcast is so special for me. Because you can't go on any other podcast and talk about a drumstick without people going, "Why is he talking about a drumstick?"
Yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean? It's like, I don't want to talk about a drumstick, but why these are special to me is I grew up using many sticks, like as all of us drummers have. And I used to love Vic Firth.
Yeah.
So I'm not afraid to say that I used to love Vic Firth. So I had this kind of based on a Vic Firth, just slightly longer, but the weight is still there now of a 5B. But what I loved what Vic Firth used to do is they'd have the little American flag.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So now you see the tip off. And then with Iron Maiden, when I met Nico McBrain, oh Christ, I don't know, I think it was like 2007 or something in a drum convention. And like I'd spoken to Moose and I'd spoken to Ryan and Moose was saying, "I want my drumsticks," because obviously Moose was indoors. He was like, "I want my next batch to have like what Nico's got. He's got a little British flag."
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, "Has he?" I was like, "Oh my God." And then sorry,
That's all right.
I thought I'd go one step different again, so I've put the little Welsh flag on there with obviously the crows and stuff like that.
It's class. Yeah.
The transition between 5A and 5B is a game changer. It is, I find it much better, much better.
Just for those kind of like just the backbeats and stuff. Because I use 5Bs as well, but like it was probably 4 years ago I probably changed. I was experimenting because when I used to work in a guitar shop, I was always buying different sticks and trying different ones. And I just kind of found like on average the 5B is a good standard kind of good weight for me. And I'm sure there's probably more kind of interesting models that they do that would probably work as well, but I just thought they're easy to get. And obviously when you're ordering them from the company, you buy in bulk, don't you? So I got loads of them somewhere.
Yeah, well, you're there with me. I mean, the other day they did send me out, like, in all fairness to them, that's why I can't fault them as endorsers. I opened up my parcel and I'm thinking, I'll use my next like batch. Brilliant, thank you guys. We'd already talked about like I wanted to keep the Welsh flag, keep all my signature and the band kind of brand new logo. But then they've put the their new like kind of winged logo on there, which is slightly different.
Cool.
It's just a little bit different to their normal logo. But what I didn't expect was, like, as the parcel and I open it, there's this new London Drumstick Company stick bag.
Oh, nice.
Which, it's just those little touches, as you know, as a drummer, and you spend a lot of money and stuff with various brands. I just love that touch with them. It was that whole like, well, look, you know, stop using your whatever other brand stick bag, start using ours because we're supplying you with the sticks. And I like that mutual thing that goes with it, like, and it's like a little rucksack. It's really nifty, like, it's
nice.
Just yet again something that makes you pop as a musician because you're like, oh, that's brilliant, like, you know.
Yeah,
so
little gifts like that, it's great. Yeah. Oh, awesome.
and then I'm with Hard Case.
Nice.
Which yet again, really honored to be with them. Family run business. Bought their cases since I can remember, to be honest. It was like since I could afford them, should I say.
Yes.
It was the case of, oh Christ, you know, my soft cases are getting bashed about in that van, so I better get myself some hard cases. And I remember having the black ones with the yellow straps. They were the first ones.
Yeah.
Which
are colours now, don't they? Or multicolours and stuff.
That's what I got, dude. I mean, cool. What was a beautiful touch, because this like journey, this new journey, or my second phase into music is all about family. Whether it be family as in my house and family with the band. I got the kids to pick the colours. So one picked purple, one picked red, and one picked dark blue. So it's just something cooler when I'm on the road. Yeah, when I'm on the road now, it's like all my cases, like they're all in those various colours. And yet again, it's just something really cooler they kind of chose that, like, do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
you know, if anybody goes, oh, you got, you know, one of those funny colored cases of you, I'm like, yeah, but the kids chose it and it's
Yeah,
cool.
that's nice. It's kind of
So
like
yeah, and
almost like having them on tour with him, not quite, but at least
no,
it
but
makes you think
yes,
about them. Yeah.
it's that, you know, even like talking about it now is there's like a point of reference.
Yeah, of course.
Point of reference to it. I mean, the same with the kit, but it's kind of like an antique finish, antique white finish.
Yeah.
But I've already thought like of the next color kit, which to be honest is not far off the color of your base in the background.
Oh,
I've been
yeah.
thinking of that. So nobody out there bloody pinch that idea, but
No.
yeah, or actually it's going to be a bit more to the missus loves Tiffany, like she just likes Tiffany as in the brand Tiffany, like not the
Well,
singer. So it's just more
what woman doesn't?
yeah, well, exactly. So she made a joke one day saying, "Oh, you know," and I think I bought her. Well, obviously, because I could afford it once. I bought her like Tiffany sunglasses, so they're like her most favorite
Cool.
thing. And I always said, "Oh, you know, if I ever had the time and the opportunity, I'll get a Tiffany colored drum kit, like you know what I mean." So,
Class.
and it just looked pretty rad as well, because you start thinking of that as a drummer, how to make your drum kit look more exciting, don't you? Like you know,
Well,
so,
definitely, yeah. It's like I've kind of gone back now because I've been playing like a white kit for years, and I've always liked it. I back in it was Straight Lines, I think. I bought my first white sparkle kit, and I always thought it looked wicked. Kind of
yeah.
influenced by Mickey D, who was in the Motorhead drummer.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
So I remember I had a poster of him on my wall, it was like a Sona, I guess, yeah, it was a Sona poster with him behind this kit, big white sparkle kit. I was like, oh, I guess in my head it was just like that's what I like now. But yeah, I've just bought a black kit, first black drum kit ever. Sounds amazing. I've used it for recording and it's incredible. But yeah, on stage it's gonna, I guess, not really stand out as much as my bright white sparkly kit did before. But I kind of thought it kind of might blend in a bit more on stage, and I just kind of thought, oh, new album, new chapter. I'll treat myself to a new drum kit, get rid of another old one, and but yeah, it's black, just plain black.
I love that, dude. I mean, when I was a kid, my dad gave me a when I was in the first band, like after Moose and I was in the band with Shane. My
Yeah,
dad gave me a sparkly red Premier kit, which now I look back, oh my god, Dane, it'd be worth a bomb, dude. Bob would love it, like, do you know what I mean? And I had such a paddy because as I was starting to get more of a rocker and that thing came into me, I went, I don't want that kit. I want a black kit. And it wasn't even about like the make or anything. I went a snob. And if anything, my mum loved her because she always like, you know, oh, let Ronnie, you know, it's his birthday coming up. So my dad sold his, because it was only his spare kit. He like sold this little red sparkly kit, which I wish I could have to this day. And they went out and got me like a Horner Lex black kit just because it was black.
yeah.
So I know what you mean. It's sometimes the color that attracts you. That's what I was going to ask you. So when you, like for me, I used Tama and like, because I was close to going with Gretsch and DW as well. I was kind of talking to a guy. So I was kind of close. I like Gretsch drums as well. And it was kind of close, but then the opportunity with Tama arose and I was nearly going to go with Tama back in the day. So it was almost like a world coming round in 360.
Yeah.
The reason why I chose Tama was because Stuart Copeland, I'd seen Dave Grohl playing him when I was younger. Lars, whether you like him as a drummer or not, it was just Tama was this strong, like metal rock kit for me. Like
No, definitely. I used to have a Tama kit. I don't know if you remember. I don't know if I ever
the
played
orange?
the orangey one. It was like yellowy orange flame. It was, I can't remember what it was called. Oh, it's Tama Superstar. No, Rock Superstar, I think it was. Tama Superstar kit, I think.
Well, use an exclusive for anyone listening or whatever. So Dane and I shared that kit somehow in TJ's back in about 2006, 2007. I ended up playing your orange kit.
Yeah.
And it was because of your orange kit I then went and got a Tama kit.
Oh, wow.
And that's what I did all the Misconduct tour in. And that's what, like when I had the magazine spreads back in the day with Drummer Mag and stuff, all my gig You know, they do the gig rundown like what we've just done now. That was
Yeah.
all like Tama, and that was influenced because I played your orange one.
Bloody
I
hell.
went out and got a superstar. What do they call it? Super.
I think it was a superstar. There was a rock star as well. They did, but I think I had a superstar. I think.
I think if I found the magazine back in a storage room, deep, it would say like Tama, but mine was black. It was borrowed off a mate. I said, "Oh, I played this Tama kit," and I remember playing your orange one, and it was just like, I want a really meaty, like, and I said, Dave Grohl plays them, and bloody Stuart Copeland. If you look at Stuart Copeland, he always plays Tama, and that's hence why I went down the Tama route. And I was quite adamant about being a Tama drummer then for a long time, until like I just bought this Gretsch kit, and I kind of liked that, and I was like, whoa, that's really cool. Is that the same with Sona with you, Sona?
Yeah,
was it like
Sona,
Nicky D?
Yeah, I think initially probably what drew me to them. But the other thing was I did work experience in cranes in Cardiff when I was like 16, and I know I ended up working there later on, which is another story. But I was only there for a week, and one of the days they had a delivery of Sona drums in. It was like Sona Force drums, and similar to you when you were in school, I had to assemble the drum kit from. They were all boxed up, and you had to put all the screws in. I had to assemble it. That was one of my jobs for the day, and I just kind of really like. Don't want to say fell in love with it, but I was just like, I really like this, and it was kind of before I ever had my own drum kit. I never had my own drum kit, and we kind of had a house one, like a family one. And I was like, I really like this. And then a few weeks later, then I kind of like, it was like a lower range intermediate one. A few weeks later, then I went back in and bought it.
That's amazing.
Because they gave me like a little staff discount thing. And then that was my kind of I had a blue, I don't know if it was a blue kit. I don't know if you ever played with me with said Mike. I don't think you did around then. It might have been before. It was like a natural blue finish kit, Sona Force 2001. And I played that for years. Then I got the Tama kit.
Yeah.
Because the Sona kit was fusion sizes. It was small toms. And I wanted a bigger floor tom. Then I bought the Tama kit. And I used that for a couple of years, which would have been that time. And then I never found like I could tune that kit as well as I wanted to. At the time, back then, I didn't know how to tune a drum kit, to be honest. I was just blagging it. I'm a lot better nowadays.
I know what you mean.
But then I ended up going back to the Sona kit, and I was gigging that then. I just preferred the way it sounded. And everyone used to say, oh, that kit sounds lush. Or sound guys used to say it sounded really good. And it wasn't expensive. And then the band Straight Line started, and then I kind of invested a little bit then into the White Sparkle kit, which I was kind of been using for years and years. I kind of sold that to buy when I got a job, then I had a bit more money. I bought a few high-end Sona kits, which were all amazing, but I was too scared to gig them because I was still playing at that lower level when I was sharing drum kits. I was like, I don't want to take a $2.5 grand kit to play in a club and have 4 bands use it before me. I was like, I can't do it. And then they were all amazing kits, and I recorded some cool albums with them. And then I ended up buying my White Sparkle kit back. And then I kind of bought extra bits. I bought a 24-inch kick drum. So that's what I've been using on the road for the last few years with the Bastards. And then like one of the floor toms is from my original kit, I think. And then the other floor tom was I bought another 3-piece of the same finish. Yeah. Someone in Caerphilly was selling it. It was quite affordable. I was like, oh, I'll have that because it matched my kit. So I like that White Sparkle kit. I've got like 3 bass drums. I've probably got about 4 floor toms. I got a 10-inch tom. I got a 12-inch tom, a 13-inch tom. And then I had a 14-inch tom, which I had refinished from a black one, but it didn't turn out very well. It didn't quite match. So I kind of got that, and it's just random. But I did gig that for years. The 14-inch rack tom that you mentioned earlier, I was gigging it for like a year or so. It just didn't quite match the color of the rest of the kit, and it always bothered me. But yeah, so I've kind of like you, I can make whatever kind of kit I want out of these. I can make a double bass drum kit if I wanted. I can do any combination of toms, and I've lost you now, I think. Have I lost you? I don't know if you're still there.
Just frozen, but there a minute.
Oh, you froze.
Oh, there you are. You're back in the room now.
But anyways, yeah. So that it was kind of for that reason, so I could have lots of options. But yeah, So, and I kind of, at the end of the day, I think they're really good. They've got this thing built into the lugs that called tune safe that reduces the amount that they can detune themselves. So, like for touring, honestly, I'll play a full set on them, put them away, get them out the next day, bish bash bosh. They pretty much sound exactly the same. I don't even touch them. I don't even have to retune the snare or anything.
That's brilliant.
They're really good. So yeah, it's kind of like no brainer. They are expensive, you know, compared to some other brands. Like if you match one of their high end kits with like a Yamaha or Tama, I think they are a little bit more money, which is a shame. But I think like some of the high end Tama stuff's amazing as well. I think all the brands do amazing drums. Then at the end of the day, I think like that's the reason why they're so big and popular at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think like Tama just brought out a Star Walnut like around the same time.
Lush,
I got that. But it was just genuinely like obviously I wanted to get on the roster and stuff like that as well. So it was the case of would I have to kind of wait for the new kit to come back? The band's not exactly, we weren't sitting on our hands, or it was more like that was the top of the range that I could have at that time, rather than the kind of process of waiting for the right setup of of whatever. But I might look at the Walnut, or I might look at another one. It just always interests me, like what, you know, with you invested in that make, or what actually sets us off to choose these.
Yeah, it's strange. I definitely think seeing other drummers play them is a big thing. But likewise, having the experience of playing them yourself. And, you know, back in the day, we used to do so many gigs, and you'd either be sharing your kit with other drummers, or you'll be playing on someone else's drum kit. And so over the years, I played so many different brands and models. So I guess I built up quite a lot of playing experience from then. You kind of learn what you liked or what you didn't like. But, you know, a lot of it's down to tuning, and it's nice to know the hardware is solid. That's important for me. Solid as a rock hardware. But yeah, I think Mickey D was big influence, and then just knowing like Phil Rudd plays Danny Carey from Tool, and like if you think of like big bands, like I get, you know, all big bands will use different brands, but like you just know that if that guy's using them, they got to be pretty good. But yeah, and I just kind of got the contact with them back when I was in Straight Lines, really, and just stuck with them ever since, really. And I don't see why I don't think I would ever move to anyone else unless someone was going to say, I'll pay you 20 grand a year to use my drums, then I would have to consider it. But which obviously hasn't happened. But that would be the only thing that would ever stop me from using them, because I get on with them, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and I love how like technology's moving with how they're making them and stuff, and like you said, to how like we used to use them when we were younger. It's just like a completely different kit. Like I have to tell anybody if they've helped me do that, especially if they're not a drummer, that's got like quick release. So there's like a little catch that says lock, so everything's just there. So
nice.
You just put the tom on.
But
cool. Even just little things like that, I was like, oh wow. So there's like another little part of it then that you don't touch that, you leave that alone. But yet you'll get other people who will take that off. Do you know what I mean?
Probably,
so it's it's little geeky stuff that it's just how drums have come on, and you know what I mean? It's that's why I'm happy with Tama, because they do everything that I need them to do. It just always intrigues me, why do drummers choose, or why are they playing that certain kit at the moment, or you know what I mean? Why do we stick to certain brands sometimes? Do you know what I mean? It is
a strange, weird thing. Yeah, I think it's like one thing when you talk about sticking with certain brands. With like cymbals, I have done in the past, but I never really like mixing and matching brands. And I think it's just OCD. And I think a lot of drummers have OCD. I think that's one thing. And like when you say, like when people try and help you put your drum kit away, I know a lot of drummers are like, no, I'll do it myself. Because they don't want anyone to like do it wrong, or put it, you know, to fold the cymbal stand down. There's infinite different ways that you can do that. And if someone does it differently, I can, like, I think it's just a thing I've learned over the years speaking to drummers, that a lot of us have got OCD.
It's your drums, isn't it? I mean, I was fortunate enough that, you know, things are going great with the band now. And I like I said to you earlier, I had a couple of friends help tech which was brilliant. I never had that in the past.
Yeah.
But even that was like, it was hard. One of them was Brill, because obviously, like I said before, Shed has known me since I was, I don't know, 16. So he's kind of developed with me as a drummer, and he knows like how I like my drums. So if anyone could be a full-time tech, it would be him. But then we had other people helping, and it just be, you almost got to teach them how you do it, but then you're over their shoulder looking, especially like you said, like the value of these kits now.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, they're not a couple of hundred anymore. You're talking thousands and thousands of pounds.
Yeah.
And then it is hard work. Like when I said about that point of no return tour earlier, obviously the manager and the agent at that time that we had didn't really think about like the stages at some of the venues they chose. Like the one in Bristol was bonkers. So I've got my drums, Shane's got a piano, and we built like a proper pub piano around a keyboard, like, you know, that breaks
Nice.
down. So it's almost like a set then. And and like what I'm saying by you is then the other two drummers are going, well, where's my kit gonna go? And I'm like, in front of mine on that little bit of space for there. And you feel bad as a drummer, and I hate that. But at the same point, I'm like, dude, if I let you now, I'm gonna have to let the other drummer, and that means the two of you now are using my kit every night, which is wear and tear on my kit. And it does go back from what you're saying. It's a bit different to the couple of £100 kits that you would have had back in the day, to now you've got proper gear, because you've got yourself in that position to be a professional band with very good, expensive gear. And then it's hard when there's other drummers then who are like the early days of me, and who are going, fucking hell, he's a bit of a diva, isn't he?
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Do you know what I mean? I feel bad with that sometimes. Or the worst ones is when the stage is big and you've had that luxury, and I bet there's loads of drummers who might know what we're on about by years, when we've had that stage and it's your moment, dude, where you've done the sound check with the Bastards, or I've done it with the Crows, and you're like, sweet, are you happy? Brilliant. And you go to start taking your kit down, and your tour manager, no, you leave all your kit there tonight. Ah, yes.
Yeah, I know. It is
brilliant.
Yeah,
no one's fucking with my kit. That's brilliant.
It is nice, isn't it?
And then you pass that drummer, and 9 out of 10, you know him as well. And that's the worst thing. You're going, do you want me to help you with your kit off? And you're like, ask a stage manager, man.
That's what I always have. Our tech always kind of deals with that. Or we always make sure it is in advance, that like, but then there are some venues or some stages where there literally isn't enough room for a drum kit to go in front, and we have to move it. But then you've just got to hope there's somewhere to store it. And like, we'll do that if we have to. We don't mind moving it, but there's no point doing all the sound check and getting everything perfect for then two other drummers to use that kit. The toms might detune a little bit or whatever.
Yeah.
Positioning is going to be all wrong. And then it kind of defeats the object of doing the sound check sometimes. But sometimes you have to kind of give a little bit of flexibility. You need to make sure the support bands are able to play. So there has been situations.
It's 50-50 for me.
Yeah.
And this is quite a mad way to say it. So I've been in positions where you shouldn't have a second drum kit on the stage. You shouldn't, right?
Yeah.
But then I have the ethics of a professional and a youngster growing into an adult, and realizing it's not about me. I'm lucky to be on this tour. I'm going to get a lot from this tour, as in like experience. And I'm going to get a lot, like, if fans like us, they're going to buy our record. So then I just kind of, my attitude is not to create any problems. If you're giving me that tiny little space for there, I'll downsize my kit. I'll do whatever I need to do.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And that's just how I've been. Now, there might be loads of drummers who listen to this or watch and disagree. And I agree. There's no right or wrong. It's just how I've always looked at it. My job as a support act is to make as less trouble as possible for the headline band, because what you want is their headline tour to go as best as it can for them. They've worked their way up the ladder for that.
Yeah.
They don't need this, band coming in, oh, well, I need an extra 3 foot, or I need this, and then it just creates issues. Like, so I was never really like, I would have been verbal 15 years ago or whatever it would have been, but then I would have got me in trouble. But then I've just learned now to keep my mouth shut and just go, actually, they're paying, the public are paying to go and watch them. So,
Yeah.
like, for example, if we were supporting you or whatever, it would just be the case of you might go, oh, are you all right with it? I'd be like, fine. I might not be, but it's just a case
You say
of,
you are. Yeah.
I just say I am, because at the end of the day, like you said, they don't realize, and this is the lack of knowledge of some drummers, for you to move your kit means the mics are never going to be the same. Your brother will say
No.
that on any sound.
Yeah.
They'll never be the same. Yeah, they kept the fucking the sounds, but they're never going to put them back in the identical spots.
Yeah.
9 out of 10, that band are trying to do a show, so they could have like kicked over or done whatever they have on the stage. So it's just easier to leave everything where it is.
Yeah.
And then you just utilize what you're left with.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember one gig, I was supporting Stonebroken, and they wouldn't mind me saying this, but like the stage in the Voodoo in Ireland was just, it was tiny, dude. It was like, but I got my drums on there. I didn't make it an issue for Robin.
Yeah.
We had to get the drum and the other band, in all fairness, the first band on, and then carry it through a over jam-packed crowd, down a fire exit into this. It was just insane. Like, but that's part of it. Do you know what I mean?
Unfortunately, yeah. We've all done it at the lower level. Like before we say something, well, I've been in that situation, or I've supported someone in this exact venue before, and that's what I do. Unfortunately, then I have to take it out in the rain and put it away, which is horrible. But that's sometimes what you have to do.
Yeah,
that's
what
the venue.
One,
that is the worst.
That's the worst one. That's
the
worst.
At least have a corridor or something, or a fire exit.
There has to be many drummers who've had that walk of shame with your drum kit getting sopping, and
horrible.
You're sweating trying to strip it down. And the worst thing is, the faster you go in, the slower the process is.
And you're dropping bloody ring nuts all over the pedal floor. No, I know. It is horrible, and I hate venues that make you do that. But sometimes it's like there's nowhere for you to do it that's safe because of the fire exit. So you have to do it outside because there's no like backstage storage.
It's what has to be done.
I mean,
I always compare it, and it probably kind of sums this episode up. I always compare it to, we did an early on show with the Crows, and I went to go and get changed in Phil. And I went upstairs into the toilet because the backstage part of Phil, as you know, when you put gear in there was multiple bands, or too many bands on that night there was. So you couldn't use the backstage part. So we had to go upstairs, and I'm just about to go on, and I like to play in shorts, and I wear socks. A lot of drummers wear trainers. I wear socks. Sometimes I go barefoot, but most of the time socks.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I whip off my trousers or my tracksuit bottoms, and I'm putting on the old gig shorts, and I'm putting on the top. Put my socks on. As I put my foot down, straight in piss. And it was at that moment you're there going, what the fuck am I doing? Like, do you know what I mean? Because you're just like, you're just about to go on stage. You put your foot in piss. But then we went on stage. Phil was rammed. The crowd is singing your songs back, and you realize this is what made this part of the journey so perfect. It was like, that's what it's all about. It's about that story that I could tell you, rock and roll. Foot in piss. The fans didn't know later on I go on stage. You know, and all that's going in your head, fucking stepped in piss. We're not getting paid for it. And then you kick off that 1, 2, 3, 4, the band kick in, and the crowd go crazy, and it's all forgotten, dude.
You forget about it, yeah. You just have
sums
smelly
it up,
socks
really,
at the end of
doesn't
the night. Yeah, man. Class. That's been so good. And obviously it's gone on fairly long. So let's quickly do, I'm introducing a new quickfire round. So I'm going to.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, something I thought I'd add. And they're not that interesting, but it gets people to know you that, you know, quickly about things. So I'll just hit them out, and you just reply as soon as you can. You know how it goes.
Bro.
So hot or cold weather?
Hot.
Day or night time?
Night.
Sweet or savory?
A bit of both.
Fair enough. I'll give you that.
My fatigue. Savory.
Savory, all right. Guitar or bass?
Oh, you bugger. Guitar. Sorry,
Okay.
Lloyd.
That's all right. No, not about personalities, yeah. Or people.
I know.
Nylon or wooden tip drumsticks?
Wooden tip.
Yeah, same. John Bonham or Neil Peart?
Oh, Dane, what are you doing to me?
Tough.
Bonham. Oh,
Beatles or the Rolling Stones?
Beatles.
Dark or milk chocolate?
Milk chocolate.
Red or white wine?
Red. Oh, majority red. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Odd one. Favorite time signature to play?
4/4.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I don't understand a lot of them. I just
Yeah.
play drums.
That's
I just
right.
play drums. It sounds great. It's brilliant. Some people tell me that's a 6/4 whatever, and I'm like, brilliant. It's just like, yeah, I almost sing drums. So if it goes with a melody line, I'm a bit ignorant there, and I apologize to any professional drummer watching this who knows every rudiment, and I kind of just play for the song.
Well, exactly. That's the thing with like, that's what I'm about. I'm not like a technically proficient drummer. I don't know all the rudiments. Like I never really studied them. I kind of say I would like to. So I'm sure they would help. And but I know how to play in a rock band. I think. I like to know it. I think I can do that, and help kind of play drums around a song. So yeah, it's kind of why I made this really, because the internet's full of people showing off.
Yeah.
So this is a place where drummers who don't show off or don't want to show off all the time can have a chat and talk about playing. So yeah, thank you. Right, last thing now, which I ask everyone, so you'll be familiar because you've listened to this podcast before. You've got to come up with your dream band with yourself on drums, not including members of those damn Crows. And then they can be dead or alive.
Dead or alive?
Dead or alive.
Okay. It would be, so it's me on drums. Bass player, I would probably go for Duff McKagan.
Oh, class. Cool.
Just because I just love his vibe. It's still got that punk rock, which I kind of grew up with.
Yeah.
But then obviously the rock side of him as well. So it'd be Duff on bass. On rhythm guitar would be Dave Grohl.
Class.
So at least he can get in a bit of cheeky vocals.
Yeah.
On lead guitar would be, oh God. Oh, good God. Probably. Lead vocalist would be Freddie Mercury.
Oh, class. He's come up loads. He's come up about 5 or 6 times so far.
I got that one nailed down. That would definitely be Freddie. Freddie be the front man with Dave backing him up.
Nice.
On a rhythm guitar. Who's going to have that second guitar slot? Oh, good God. Andy Summers.
Who's
police.
that? Oh, right. Oh, class.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Apologies to any police fans. He's the one I don't know the name of.
Andy Summers on guitar.
Brilliant.
And the reason why, like, because some people might go, oh, why didn't you go? Because obviously if I got Sting going on there on bass, I've got a wicked bit of a vocal come instrument vibe, but there's just too many egos going on there, see? So I gotta watch those egos. So
you've got to think practical terms now.
Yeah, you gotta, if this gotta work, this band now, and we gotta go and play. We gotta play Phil next week, and we gotta start our career selling merch. It would definitely have to be Duff McKagan on bass, because he'd be my right hand man, but they're keeping everybody grounded. Dave, obviously, Dave would be a pleaser, great songwriter, bit of gruff as well, and Freddie would be the maestro.
Yeah.
And then obviously, I think
brilliant.
I think he would serve well, Andy Summers, because like you said, he's not like a popular guitarist. He's not a Slash, or actually I'm going to swap him. Andy got sick. I'm going to go for Miles. I'm going to go for Miles Kennedy.
On lead guitar?
Yeah, well, not so much lead. It don't have to be lead.
Yeah, it don't have to be lead, does it? Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, because I could have kind of gone.
The vocals would be incredible.
Yeah, and that's what I'm all about with it. I think that's what that band needs, like, So yeah, there's the grunt of McKagan. There we are, Duff McKagan on bass. Miles Kennedy on one guitar, Dave Grohl on the other, and then Freddie fronting it.
That's a hell of a band. Hell of a band.
That's all right, isn't it?
That's pretty good.
And if I got enough budget, I'd have Elton John on keyboard. There we go.
You need a few couple of quid for him, I would imagine. But that's great, man. Great dude. That's class. Yeah. So
Brilliant.
just thanks for agreeing to do it. I know we've talked about getting you on, and
Yeah,
glad you
thanks for having me on, but
pulled the
big
trigger.
fan of what you're doing.
Same
I
here,
think
man.
anybody doing anything in this climate deserves a pat on the back, and it's great. Like I said, the more people you're talking to, you get the stories out of them, you see what they're up to, how they're doing mentally,
Yeah.
and just how we can all come out of this strange world at the moment, but meet up somewhere and talk about it. This is history, dude, isn't it?
I know.
That's the
It
cool
is.
thing. Like,
Absolutely
you know,
nuts. And yeah, one day we'll hopefully be able to share a beverage or two.
oh, I can't wait for that.
I
I
know.
can't wait for that. I've already said about like your brother was on about cheese and,
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah,
beer.
yeah.
So I'm going to hold him to that. Plus, he's a Welsh football fan as well. So I didn't realize how much, honestly, I didn't realize how much I got in common with all of you, to be honest. Where
Yeah, sounds
your
like
brother's
a
a
lot.
massive footy fan. I go and watch every Welsh game I can.
Yeah. So does
And
he,
then
yeah.
like the wrestling, obviously you and your brother as well, yet again with the wrestling. So yeah, man, there'd definitely be more of us in the future hooking up, and I think a lot more people in the future, Dane, including yourself, will make that effort, because hopefully we'll never ever have to be in this predicament again where we just haven't got that option, bro. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I can't say to you, no, thanks for having me on. Great interview. Do you want to go for a beer or curry? We can't do it.
can't
And
do
that's
it,
so
yeah.
strange to be able to say that.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're in one part of Wales now, I'm in the other, where in the real world, we'd probably just hook up and do it in the same room.
Yeah.
It's bizarre, isn't it? Like, do you know what I mean? It's like, where you from? I'm live from LA.
Yeah.
It's like
It's crazy.
everyone's from a different place now. It's mad, like.
It is mad. And I guess that's the one good thing that this exists, allows it to happen. But what was crazy when I did the episode with Gordon from Rage and Speedo, and he literally lives down the road.
Here we
But
go.
I was like,
Here we go.
we can't technically do it in my house or your house. So
No,
we're gonna have to go with this. So it was great.
It's-
He literally 5 minutes. I could walk to his house in 10-minute walk away. I think that's how close he lives to me.
it's
And,
bonkers. I think if, obviously we should have all bought shares in Zoom.
yeah, definitely. I know.
We'd definitely be, they must be rigging it in, because
Yeah.
like, family get-togethers or pub quizzes, whatever. It seems to be the new way at the moment, but it's just important everybody keeps in touch, and
Yeah.
anything we can ever do for you guys, I know it's mutual as well. We're always here, like, and that's why we do that's why we do the Crowcast, dude. A lot of people say, why aren't we charging for it? Because we don't. The only reason we're not at the moment, it's almost like we need it as well. When you said it's a love, it is a lot of work, but I kind of need that at the moment, and I think it's great to connect with everybody every week. Just makes me feel I haven't lost touch of this kind of dream and everything that's going on, like, so, and it's
Brilliant.
beautiful to hear the stories the same as you do now off us drummers and etc. And just know, like, you're not on your own. Like, that's the mad thing. So
Exactly, yeah. No, awesome, man. And well, I'm glad you're doing all right, and I'll try and keep up to date with the Crowcasts. And when we're definitely available and allowed, we'll definitely go. Let's just go for a curry. Let's organize a curry. Let's go for a
curry and a few
and
beers. I
class.
love that, but and we can talk about the old days and hopefully what the hell is ahead of us all.
Yeah, man.
I can't wait, like.
Yeah.
And fingers crossed, bro, I see you in a festival in the summer.
Yeah.
Let's pray for that. That'll be
let's hope.
That's a beautiful moment, that would be.
Oh, that would be class. That would be amazing. So yeah, let's hope the COVID gods, whoever you are, just kind of back away now. Leave us alone. let's end on that. Nice one, Ronnie. That's class. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and thanks for listening, everybody. Cheers.
Thank you.